Executive Director tell us the reason for that executive session from 3 to 4.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We need an executive session today from basically 3 o'clock until 4 o'clock to discuss security issues relative to the Ogdensburg Prescott International Bridge. In attendance today is our engineering firm, Greenman Peterson, who will be conducting that presentation.
Do we have a motion for executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, Patty. Bye.
I'd like to introduce Paul Forte from
meeting will come to order July 7th, 2009 at 4 p.m. and we're back from executive session. And nothing came out of the executive session to report to the public. It was just an update on the engineering studies that's going on at our bridge. Nothing came out of that at this time. And if it does in the future, we'll let the public know. So we'll go on to the docket, and there is not going to be a meeting for the border station today. Nothing needs to be done there. I think I reported it earlier, but I'll do it again. And at this time, we have our auditor here. And Wade, I'll turn it over to you to talk to the gentleman, and we'll go right into the audit presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce Joseph Klimek of Toski, Schaefer & Company, CPA firm, for the presentation of our 2008-2009 fiscal year audit.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are pleased to be the auditor of the Bridge and Port Authority. I think we're doing our 4th year, doing the work and seeing the authority grow in the past years in terms of its purpose and internal controls and its financial strength. As part of our duties as your independent auditors, we must report to the board the conduct of the audit during the year. And there's a letter here dated July 7, 2009 that highlights our responsibilities as being your auditors, your responsibilities being the governance of the authority, and management's responsibility for preparing the financial statements. So under our responsibilities, under our auditing standards and additional standards of government auditing standards, our responsibility is to express an opinion about whether your financial statements, which are prepared by management with the board's oversight, are fairly presented in all material respects in conformity with the U.S. Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. And that's what you hire us to do. Our audit of the financial statements does not relieve your management of your responsibility over these numbers, over the financial statements. And when we do our audit, we also review your internal controls and how they interact with your financial reporting system. And also, we also review your internal controls over the federal dollars that you spend also, because we're also hired to do this in your audit. And but you don't hire us to express an opinion on the effectiveness of those internal controls. So we do not provide any assurance concerning your internal controls. That's the responsibility of governance and management. On page 2, other information and documents containing all the financial statements. We're not aware of anything. Our duties and responsibilities are only to these financial statements, and we don't take any responsibility of anything else that's published, which may include our financial statements. Certificate audit findings, we are responsible for communicating to management and to the board anything relevant to your responsibilities overseeing the financial statements. However, we do not design procedures specifically to identify such matters in accordance with our standards. Certificate accounting policies in 2008-2009, the certificate accounting policies I described in Note 2 of the financial statements. In 2009, the authority implemented the accounting requirements required by GASB Statement Number 45, accounting and financial reporting by employers for post-employment benefits other than pensions. And then it's disclosed in Note 13 to the financial statements. And those have to do with the actuarial evaluation that was done by management this year, hired an actuary to prepare what the new liability is under this new accounting standard, which really addresses the accounting for retiree health insurance, which has been very controversial lately in the governmental financial circles. Accounting estimates, your financial statements are an integral part of your financial statements are accounting estimates. The most sensitive disclosures are the valuation of your account receivable and your grant receivables, and useful lives of providing depreciation expense, also in the actual evaluation of your liability for retiree health benefits. Sensitive disclosures in your financial statements. There's one note, Note 15, the financial statements you should be aware of. That note describes that the authority is involved in various legal proceedings and contracted commitments, so let's be aware of that. Difficulties encountered in performing audit were none with management. Management was very helpful in making these financial statements available to us and help us prepare these on a timely basis. Corrected and uncorrected misstatements. These are a misstatement is either a result of an error or a fraudulent activity, one or the other. We know no audit adjustments are here to be prepared in these financial statements this year. There are no disagreements with management about accounting principles and things that we were involved with. Management did provide us representation that we rely upon in their management letter. Management consultation with other independent accountants. We're not aware of any other type of consultations with any other accounting firms regarding, say, something like sort of a second opinion on their financial statements. And in the course of our work throughout the year with the authority, there are no other audit plans or issues that we deal with the authority are all part of our normal contracted service and our professional relationship. So nothing unusual this year in performing our audit and our audit procedures. As a result of the audit, we gave an unqualified opinion on your financial statements, so a clean, unqualified opinion. Your financial statements were prepared, and all the material respects of the conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. We also noted no material weaknesses in control over your financial reporting system. And because you are an authority subject to investment guidelines published for the laws and regulations for authorities regarding your investments, we looked at compliance with those rules and regulations and found that the authority was in compliance with the New York State investment guidelines. We issued a manager letter. You have a direct manager letter. We basically had one comment this year. Again, it's not a material weakness. Our manager letter is a small 2-page letter dated June 17, 2009. And I just want to bring up the one comment we had this year, the inventory of equipment. The authority has not conducted a complete physical inventory of its capital assets since April 2005. We recommend that to provide effective accountability over your equipment and ensure the reliability of your accounting records that a physical inventory should be taken annually. The inventory equipment should be compared to your fixed asset, capital asset ledgers, and appropriate disposition made of account balances representing lost or abandoned equipment. That was our recommendation for the current year. Previous recommendations we listed last year, dated June 6, 2008. The authority followed up on all our previous recommendations. The one we had was accounting issues for post-employment benefits. We recommend that the authority had an actual evaluation of that liability, and they did. The authority had that actual evaluation prepared, which are included in your financial statements. The second page, we asked that we previously recommended that the board establish a policy for review and approval of executive director's time report. and the authority has established such a procedure where now the authority is reviewed by the Chief Financial Officer. So thank you for implementing those suggestions. The financial statements, everybody should have a draft of the financial statements, in management discussions and analysis. That's a large report, 41 pages. I'm going to go every page by page. As I said before, on page 1 and 2 is our independent auditor's report. As I mentioned, it's unqualified, clean opinion on your financial statements. Page 1 and 2. Beginning on page 3 is management discussion and analysis. I know the board had a chance to read these in advance. This is management discussion and analysis, and it says in our report we have not audited these numbers in the management discussion and analysis part of your financial statement. Very well written. The financial highlights are on page 8. On page 8, we have a summary of the authority's financial position for March 31st, 2009 and 2008. You can see that total assets for 2009 were $50,518,000 compared to $49,107,000 for the year before. Total liabilities are down slightly, $28,384,000 for 2009 versus $28,733,000 for 2008. And our net assets, which represents our equity, was $22,134,640 at the end of March 31st, 2009, compared to $20,374,191 at the end of March 31st, 2008, which was an increase of $1,760,449 for the year ended March 31st, 2009. The operating revenue and grants, operating expenses are compared below. We had operating income in 2009 of $2,136,000 versus operating income of $1,396,000 the previous year. In retrospect, looking back at the year, you can see that the bridge tolls were down about 7% during the year, but that was overtaken by your port fees, which had a large increase for the wind turbine project and the Stevens Overing project, and that offset the decline in the revenue from the bridge. Any questions on this part of the financial statement? And I could go through the rest of the statement that you would make, but I just wanted to see if there's anybody any questions at all so far on what's been presented. Okay, page 10 is your statement of net assets. Statement of net assets. With total cash and cash equivalents. We reconciled and confirmed all the cash balances as part of our audit procedures, and internal controls over cash are very, very strong. We had $3.4 million at the end of 2009 versus $3.2 million at the end of 2008, so cash is very consistent from year to year. Total current assets, $6,190,000 at the end of 2009 versus $5,696,000 at the end of 2008. Again, very consistent. Total capital assets were $43,921,000 at the end of 2009 versus $42,880,000 at the end of 2008. Very consistent. We added some projects, and we have some construction in progress going on, and all the detail of those assets are presented at note 5 on pages 23 to 24 of your financial statements, should you want to know. On page 11 are the liabilities and net assets of the authority. Total current liabilities are very consistent from year to year, $1,670,000 versus $1,695,000. As a result, we have a very strong current ratio here, about 4 to 1, you have no problem at all meeting your debt service or your current liabilities. Non-current liabilities are very consistent too. We pay some off. We're paying down our liabilities, which includes the bonds for the port of the border station. That's being paid down in accordance with your 15-year schedule. Our net assets. Net assets at the end of the year, as I said, were $22 million this year versus $20 million the previous year. We had a nice increase in our net assets. Our net assets are breaking down two categories: invested in capital net assets, which represents our infrastructure, our bridges, our buildings, less your debt. The related debt on that's $16,981,000 versus $15,654,000. Our unrestricted net assets, which is what the board has discretion over, that's $5,153,000 at the end of 2009 versus $4,719,000 at the end of 2008. Any questions? Okay, let's see. Page 12 is our statement of revenues, taxes and changes, and net assets. Broken out between the two funds. We have the bridge fund and the port fund. You can see that our operating income for the 2009 was $2,136,000 versus $1,396,000. The details are in the numbers. The bridge tolls are down slightly. We're about 7%, $130,000. And our bridge is basically due to the loss of traffic, slowing economy. I don't know if you want to go across the border anymore if you don't have your license, that type of thing. The passport. Rentals, we had a slight decrease. The bridge fund is up, but the port fund was down about $149,000. Basically, the Big Sky bankruptcy at the airport, that carrier's no longer there. You lost some rent there. The Echo moved out. That was about a loss of $55,000 there. The Salt carryover, it wasn't really a busy season this last summer or winter, so there was $64,000 decrease in your Salt carryover revenue. And the Great Lakes Grain Company, they moved out, so there was about a loss of $45,000 there. The port operating fees, a large increase here, as I said before. The increase was due to, it's $2,220,000 this year versus $641,000 last year. Large increase due to the stevedore project for the wind turbine project. That's also offset by wages. The hiring of stevedores, also a large increase in salary wages. In the port funds in the current year. Okay, page 13 is our non-operating revenue and expense. Basically, our interest expense is not operating, and you can see that our interest expense is consistent from year to year. $427,000 in interest expense for 2009, and $406,000 in the prior year. So we had actually total non-operating expense of $375,000 this year versus $337,000 in the prior year. Interest income is down, and it's basically down all over because of the lower interest rates. It's down about half, which makes sense. That's how interest rates have changed during the year. So therefore, we had an increase as a result of operating income versus non-operating revenue or expense. We had an increase of $1,760,000 this year, 2009, versus $1,059,000 the previous year. Any questions on the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that answer?
Could I ask you one question on the foreign currency exchange we had losses? Is that due only to the loss of the value of the dollar against Canadian, or are we not exchanging it fast enough at the bank? Because we do charge a difference in total revenue.
Mary, that's a timing thing, where that last one with that par, we tried to keep that par as long as we could, even though we knew we were getting a little bit less.
Right.
Kind of make up for some of the $8,000 $1,000 gain from the year before.
Okay.
So some of that was intentional, others is when it's falling, you lose a little every day until you change it.
Okay.
As opposed to rising. Okay?
Thank you, Mark. Looking at cash flows. This is how your cash was used during the year, where it came from, and how you used it. So the bridge fund had cash funds provided by operating activities of $2 million, $2,029,000. Some of that was used to subsidize the port fund, again. The port fund relies on the bridge fund to subsidize its operation. The cash flows from, we paid off some debt. We $537,000. We also added to our capital assets of $757,000. And we also paid interest on our debt of $335,000. So cash used in capital financing activities was $1,629,000. And from investing activities, we had some interest income. There's our loss on the foreign currency, and we had a decrease in investments of $105,000. So cash provided by investing activities was $122,000. Our increase in cash in the bridge fund was $177,000 during the year. The port fund generated cash from operating activities of $1,282,000. It also received $394,000 in subsidies from the bridge fund. We invested some of that cash in capital assets, $1,961,000. We paid some principal and capital debt, $41,000. We sold some capital assets of $91,000. We received proceeds from selling some capital assets. We paid interest on the capital debt of $92,000, and we also issued some new debt of $265,000. So net cash used in capital finance activities was $1,738,000. We had cash provided by investing activities was $132,000. We had an increase in cash of $71,000 in the port fund during the year. Any questions on the statement of cash flows?
Is that cash flow, is that an appropriate way to move money? I don't understand this in a lot of ways. Cash is going back to work. Is that an effective way of doing it?
I guess.
I'm just saying this cash is moving, whatever. Is it?
Well, we have cash provided from different operations. So,
right.
So cash from operations is very important. Is the authority generating its cash from operations? Doesn't have to borrow funds to meet its needs? And this basically says, no, you don't. You've had a slight increase in cash during the year, but you met all your debt service needs. You also invested a lot of money in the capital structure of the authority. You invested about $2.7 million this last year in new additions to the airport and different projects. So this cash flow tells you how you use your money during the year.
Because each of our units is not necessarily self-sustaining. If we make money on the bridge and we need to take that profit on the bridge and invest it in the port, we'll do that, and this is what that shows us. Each one of these units, they keep individual track of, but one may subsidize another.
I understand that. I was thinking how the cash flows and how you monitor it, how it flows. I guess that's what I'm asking, I guess, in that way. How is it controlled, the cash being moved here or whatever?
Does it mark up individual units for the port, the airport, the bridge? Well, there's actually 2 units, right?
Well, there's the port and the bridge. Right. So the port is also broken down. Right. In the back, you can see there's airport, industrial properties, railroad, and marine terminal. There's a separate page. Yeah. You can see it broken out. So that does not include the bridge fund, but it's the port fund, again, with 4 cost centers, so to speak, or 4 departments. And this is how your accounting system is set up. Okay.
I think you're getting my answer, whatever. Obviously, the bridge fund has their money cash, the port has their cash, whatever, so everybody, the cash is separated so everybody knows exactly what that money is worth at.
The bank accounts are not commingled, yes. The bank accounts
So that's what
are established by port fund or bridge fund.
Okay, I was pretty long way.
So there's not enough money in the port portfolio, then the bridge fund will transfer cash over there.
Okay.
Where's the amount of money that, the money that's from the bridge fund to support the airport? How much money was that last year?
And the cash flows was $394,000.
That's on page what?
Page 14.
So that's how much money we took from the bridge fund to use to the airport.
That's how much money that says they move from the bridge to the port throughout the year?
I'm talking about the airport.
The airport's part of the port.
They're one part of the port.
How much money did we use out of our cash for the airport?
We don't break out the cash by airport, industrial park, marine terminal.
Well, we have that number, right?
No, we don't. No, there's two cash accounts, the port fund and the bridge fund. And the port fund has a separate 5 divisions. Same with the bridge fund, we don't break it up between border station and the bridge. It's all bridge cash from all the operations.
I'm looking for the airport.
Well, I can tell you what the airport had. I can't tell you the cash flows because it's not necessary, but
The airport brings in a revenue.
the airport had an increase in net assets of $436,000 this year.
An increase.
Increase. Yeah, because we got some federal and state grants. Page 38, 738.
Okay. But eliminating the grant money,
So we took the grant money out.
I want to know what the bridge and the port is put into the airport. Do we have the numbers there?
No.
You don't have them?
No.
Okay, so Mark, you can get those numbers for us.
Now, you're talking about cumulative spread from inception. When you talk about the airport did this year, financially, if you take all the grants, they probably lost $600,000 in cash.
How much they lost?
600.
600,000?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. But the grants were $1,115,000.
Yeah, that was for construction work, et cetera, et cetera. So we're bringing that in, that's going back out.
Right, yeah.
But we have a loss of $600,000 in the airport.
Without the grants, you
Only got depreciation for 2002.
There's some non-cash expenses also for depreciation and non-cash expense. The coverage you out of the probably closer to 300.
yes, about 300. If you want to look at the cash flow today, we have $283,000 in non-cash depreciation.
Thank you very much. That answers
Okay.
She knows, ask her.
Any questions?
Are you done?
Yeah, I could be done with that, I guess.
No, whatever you want to read to us, tell us, and when you're done, we'll go from there, and then we'll start asking you questions.
Okay.
We got an hour of questions.
What's that saying? That we have to start with here?
I don't want to make you nervous.
That's okay. Anyway, begin on page 16, notes to the financial statements. They're very consistent from year to year. On page 16, we have the one component unit, which is the Ogdensburg Border Station Inc. It's a one component unit that is in the financial statements of the bridge fund. It's enclosed entirely in there. And there are separate financial statements for the Ogdensburg Border Station in draft form that I dropped off today, but all the information is already in these financial statements.
But the border station is paying for itself.
Yes.
Thank you.
The border station is staying even. It is generating enough cash to pay off the debt. Operating the way it was
Designed it.
That's how the bond was designed.
Get rid of the heat bill, Mary, that's the best.
Okay.
The lights.
I'd like to bring your attention to page 19. It's a new accounting pronouncement. Again, post-employment benefits other than pensions. The authority is A substantial portion of the cost of premiums to an insurance company would provide health care insurance to retirees. The authority will pay 75% of health insurance premiums for future retirees with 20 years of active service until age 65. That time, the retiree will be responsible for that entire premium cost, and the authority will not reimburse retirees for the cost of Medicare. In 2004, the Gansby released SNP number 45, and in 2008, this year, that authority implemented Gansby 45. Now, I want to take you right to that footnote. It explains the liability, which is on page 32. Page 32 is the new disclosure of post-employment benefits other than pensions. Total expenditures, charged operations for that expense this year amounted to $96,000. The liability at the end of March 31st, 2000, will be accruing a certain amount. Going on to the middle of the page, the actuarial accrued liability for retired employees was $510,178. Those are already those retired receiving benefits. And for active employees, it's $536,000. And that total liability is $1,046,248, and all of it is unfunded at the present time. The authority records, pays its expense on a pay-as-you-go type of arrangement. Not unusual for all governments in New York State. That unfunded liability is amortized over a period of 30 years. The amortization of the unfunded liability was $60,000, $60,505. The normal cost for the fiscal year, those that are working right now, is $35,621. Now, going back to the original footnote that explained the plan, you can see that after age 65, the authority no longer will pay retiree insurance. So this is only for those retired, active and retired people that up to age 65. So if the authority would increase the, to say it was a lifetime benefit, your liability would be a lot higher. Okay, just want to let you know that. Okay. So the annual required contribution this year, it was $96,000. The contribution made on a pay-as-you-go basis was $35,126. The increase in the liability, this is the first year of it, was it's all $61,000, and that's a new disclosure in your finance statements. $61,000 is on your balance sheet as a non-current liability. That's new this year. I did mention the significant notes to the board, which is on page 34. The contingency note, I don't want to go through all the areas here of the litigation that the authority is involved with, but you can see that the authority in most cases believes that the suit is without merit in some cases, that there's some undeterminable claims as of the audit stage. So I'll leave this out here as full disclosure. You can see what they are, and I don't need to go through in detail in the present time.
Those contingencies as written, did you write these?
Mark Halpern.
I mean, the board.
No, these are management's disclosures.
Okay.
Any questions on the financial statements? Anything I have reported at?
The one area that I have it here somewhere, where you say we're not in compliance. I thought you said that there were recommendations that was made.
Inventory?
The inventory.
That's the financial letter, yes.
That time, you brought it up.
That's the letter on June 17th.
Okay. So, that's an audit problem, right?
Let's say, the way to increase your internal control. Yes.
So it's an audit problem that we haven't done.
Well, right. We should,
And you would like to see that addressed?
yes.
Thank you.
Annually.
Gotcha. I put okay in the rest of it.
Yeah, okay.
After you burned up the calculator, right?
Does anybody have any questions?
The unfunded liability, which I know is probably too heady and we don't need to discuss it, says in here, and I can't remember what page it was, that now we're at the 29th year. How do you run it from 30 years down to 29 when we have new retirees, new employees? You know what I'm saying? When we get a new employee, do you start at 30 years again? How does that work?
Every 2 years, you're required to have an actual report.
Does that depend on the number of employees and the age of the... Okay.
There's different criteria to how many, when Gatsby came out with this, the first thing, when Gatsby came out with this, there's always an exposure draft. Now, everybody's aware of what happened to the General Motors and the cost of, how much goes in a car. To pay retired health insurance is about $2,000 a car. Well, that was never recognized in the governmental financial statements until about 2 years ago. The larger governments had to bring that in sooner. Being a smaller type of government, you should have brought it in last year. We mentioned it last year. That was why it was in our manager letter. You brought it in this year. It's not a material dollar amount right now, but...
No, but my point is next year when we see this, when we have an amortization period with, say, a 43, which I know is crazy. That was
28 next year.
but what I'm asking is, if we've gone down from 30 to 29, isn't this based on the composition of the employees and the age and our retirees?
No.
If we're not.
No, the amortization of past service cost, okay, you're allowed to amortize it over 30 years, so that's the past service cost as of this date. So that has not been recognized. Then the normal cost will be added every year as people are working, and
right.
So you have the amortization of past service cost, which will be over 30 years. So next year we have 29, and then 28 and 30.
What happens when you get to zero?
It should be fully funded and recorded.
Despite the fact we have new employees and more retirees.
New employees will be part of the normal cost. So the amortization is only of the past service cost at a certain date.
And our retirees at this point in time are fixed.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And then at age 65, that goes away.
At 65, you don't pay them anymore. Right.
You indicated 20 years after 20 years.
That's the plan.
So that's talking Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. So the people now that retire got to be 55 or something like that in 25 years, I believe.
So if somebody retires at 55, you have to pay their benefits till 65.
No, it's 10 years.
Right.
If they're under some of the retirement system now, it's 62
Right. Okay.
before they can get full benefit.
Right.
So we'd end up with 3 years on them people. I mean, there's a wave here.
But I wanted to have some idea of the actuarial analysis from year to year. We're fixed right now. Get it out.
I believe that actuarial report is available. You can buy it. Okay.
I was just curious because next year when it looks a little different. Okay.
We'll probably ask you again next year.
Short-term memory.
We're here.
Thank you.
Joe, how many governments are you dealing with where you see they're doing what they're supposed to do by accruing this on their financial statements, but are not funding it?
Almost, the only one I knew that even started funding it was New York City.
You know the word I don't know.
But basically, the fund this liability requires you to set up a trust. New York State has now allowed their legislation to set up such a trust. They don't want school districts to do it. That's probably the biggest reasons because they want to try to keep property taxes low. So there's no legislation right now to allow that trust. New York City did establish such a trust and began funding. New York State's liability is $53 billion. And they decided to set up a trust by putting in a $1 billion to start funding toward their liability. And I guess my understanding is this year they had to raise it. So they said they had to raise like $1 billion to do something else. So I would recommend that the board perhaps set up a reserve. That's something you might want to look at to begin having cash available. Because what's going to happen is, if you look at the actual report, the pay-as-you-go is going to rise continuously in your budget. So if this year it's $39,000, and maybe in 10 years it's going to be $390,000. And you're going to need to come up with those funds then. So by funding it now, you won't have to come up with the $390,000. You can kind of smooth it out.
I thought it was important that everyone hears that, the unfunded part of it, because it is an issue you're hearing about continuously.
And that's strictly a cost for the authority. There's no cost to the employees on that.
75%. But that's our portion. You pay 75%.
Employees pay it?
Yes.
Okay. And that's legislation.
Oh, that's your policy.
No, the legislation is the gas before that requires us to put a balance sheet now, that's all.
Just us to do it, Doug?
No, all government.
Is there any employee share there?
That reflects ours, not what theirs is.
Just at 25%.
So ours is 75. That's substantial.
Thank you. Any questions? I guess you can stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like. But you got to get out of that seat.
Okay, I know. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. Okay. I need a motion to accept the audit report we've had here today. So do we have a second? Second. Second by Sam. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll jump right into the...
I will have files delivered very soon. I will get file to the audit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Everything's got to be coming.
I probably can hit that PDF to you by the end of tomorrow.
Oh, that's all.
Finalized?
Yeah.
You'll let Don know, right? He takes care of that.
We'll be hitting it on the website, Don, right? Right?
Thank you. While you mentioned that, we did conduct an exit conference with Joe and his team and exchange a lot of ideas. It was very informative. They did.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'll wait for Mark to get back.
Is that one to be on the other side of the table on that one? It was. Any of your clients give you any good ideas to ask?
Oh,
yeah. All those things that kept you awake at night you finally got to use, is that it?
Yeah, we got that done. Okay, letters of communication. Where is Mark? There are a couple of them.
You know what, Joe, for a minute.
Well, I can run through most of it. Is there any letters of communications to the board?
There are a couple of things of interest in your read file this month I'll point out to you. There's a letter from Hoosier Magnetics requesting an update on 286,000-pound rail service to the Hoosier facility, specifically citing in order to remain competitive and reduce operational cost, Hoosier Magnetics requests that the OBPA and the New York and Ogdensburg Railway upgrade the line from Ogdensburg to Norwood to handle 286,000-pound capacity cars. As you can see from the letter, it goes on to cite that they can only approximately load two-thirds of the car capacity given the line, and that in turn incurs a raw material penalty due to the light loading of the car. The second item I'd like to bring to your attention today is in response to a request to the State of New York Department of Transportation regarding a decision by New York State DOT on the state's passenger freight rail assistance program and the 2005 Rebuild and Renew New York Transportation Bond Act. As you recall, we currently have two projects outstanding. We have submitted to the 2005 Transportation Bond Act program the Port Access Road for $1.4 million. The state's passenger freight and rail assistance program has a $2.8 million application before it, upgrading from milepost 11 to milepost 25. You can see DOT's response to our request there. And addition, third thing I'd like to bring to your attention, letter went from us to the regional director of New York State DOT for Region 7, specifically regarding the border crossing improvement project, the toll booth relocation, urging New York State DOT to move forward with this project. It's been a busy month this month. The next page in is from Assemblyperson Janet Dupree in support of the 4-lane rooftop highway. And beyond that, you see our standard news articles for the month.
Any questions in regards to the communications? Being none, we'll move into the approval of the minutes for the board meeting of May 14, 2009. Okay. Comments and presentations by citizens regarding the agenda items? Is there any? Staff reports, Executive Director.
We had a busy month. A couple of things I'll add to the report here just to highlight. Discussion with CMS engineers over the Airport Capital Improvement Program. That will be for an August presentation of the Board of Directors by CMS. So far, Cape Air's essential air service schedule has been well received by the traveling public. You'll see the numbers fill that out here shortly. Port of Ogdensburg, we continue to work with the consultant on the overdue North Country Freight Needs Study and Comprehensive Plan for the Port of Ogdensburg. There is an interim, there is a final draft report. It is not yet complete. We can continue to work with Wilbur Smith to make sure that that happens. That is significantly overdue at this point.
Lee, did you know that at the Fort Drum Festival recently, the Watertown Airport was at the festival, Mountain Fest, and had literature for Cape Air and also had our schedule there too.
Oh, really?
And that was really great because a lot of people were wandering around the booths, and so they actually represented us.
That's good. That's good. I was not aware of that. Thank you.
At Mountain Fest. Yeah, maybe something next year you want to add some palm cards or something for them to get out that might be a little, you know, if they're going to be there, they probably wouldn't mind handing our stuff out too.
Exactly. You can do something for them at the very second.
Yeah, maybe somebody you want to talk to there.
Wonderful. As I mentioned, we advocated with New York State DOT to make a decision on the access road and rehabilitation projects that are outstanding. Talked with the Army Corps of Engineers regarding the Section 107 study, which is supposedly starting middle of this month. Participated in the New York State Department of Transportation Railroad meeting that was held in Rutland, Vermont, discussing the rehabilitation work on the line. The bridge project, as you know, requires $90 billion. We can continue to pursue funding for that. We've made a presentation to building trades. We've contacted federal officials. Continue to engage main office and regional office of state DOT. In addition, we've submitted a $4.8 million application to the New York State Empire State Development's Upstate Development Fund that you'll see here shortly. Attended the St. Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce's visioning session. Under internal activities, I've completed the new board member orientation tours for the authority, but there is one thing I need to kind of stop at this point and ask. For the new board members, I have a couple of dates open for the rail section of the tour, which is has not yet been completed. For planning purposes, it would be between leaving the port at 7 a.m. and returning to the port via rail at noon. 3 dates that are available are July 13th, July 27th, or August 3rd. Prior to the end of the meeting tonight, if we could come to a consensus on a date, I'd like to try and nail that down because we do have some major rail issues coming up.
Wade, would you mind, maybe pick a date, letting me know what that is, and if it works with my schedule, I'd love to do it because I never had a rail tour. So to be quite honest, when you talk about rail, I can only envision my mind what you guys are talking about, so that would be helpful if I could.
So dates and makes a difference.
July 13th, July 27th, or August 3rd. You've got Jerry I'm sorry, let me do an introduction. Jerry Hebner from the Vermont, New York and Ogdensburg Railway. The back of the room. You got enough capacity, Jerry?
Yeah, well, with that many people, we probably could take the engine.
Okay.
At least you can call me a caboose.
Jerry, have you still got the humper?
No, those have been disposed of.
Oh, they had them? I could have said,
We said that for you.
well, I was going to say I could ride with the girls. Make them do the work, right?
But before the end of the meeting tonight, if we could come to a consensus there, it'd be appreciated, and then we can move forward. There's a workplace violence policy directive in front of you tonight as well. We continue to work on the Ford Master Plan, and specifically we need that for the steering and strategic planning committees, so that way we can get that done and wrapped up. And those are some of the highlights, not everything, but we're happy to entertain any additional questions that you have.
Hey, go back just one little question I had. I mean, that enlighten a little bit about the visiting session you had with the Port Authority. What was that all about, or what?
It was put on by St. Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce and the New York Power Authority, and its purpose was to envision what St. Lawrence County looks like 20 years down the road, and how do we get there from here. Very interesting discussion along the lines of similar in nature to St. Lawrence University's North Country Symposium, that type of flavor. Group was pretty well split between transportation options and infrastructure technology options. There really was no consensus among the group, and that group will be reconvening, I believe, in September.
Did they have a vision for us, or what we should be like in 20 years, or what they need from us?
It was interesting. There were folks that wanted, again, I hesitate to throw people into camps, but there were some camps that wanted development, and there were some camps that wanted no development whatsoever. It was
Status quo is fine for some people.
Sounds like the park, the OBPA.
It was fairly evenly split.
Chief Financial Officer, is there any questions of Wade? Mark, you're up.
Most of the last month was spent with a couple of two different things. One, getting the financial statements ready for the audit that George has presented, and the other was the ARS reporting system for the Authority Budget Office and the State Comptroller. That's an annual thing where those two departments require us to submit our audited numbers. That's a web-based program, 2 years old now. So that was a little time-consuming, but everything has been put into there. And yesterday I received a call from the Division of the Budget as far as our operating budget for the coming year. They're still reviewing that, and they have gotten to our debt agreement. So they're looking at the debt agreement within $17 million debt for the bridge. So we've sent them a draft proposed agreement, and they're looking at it right now.
Is there any truth to the issue that without the agreement in place to pay them back, they're not going to approve our budget?
We would like that in place before approving the budget, yes.
Have they indicated that to you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we sent it out to them, so hopefully it'll be a pretty smooth process.
Do we know what it is? Do board members know what it is?
The repayment agreement? It's the same as it has been, $75,000 a year for the next 4 years. I've increased the reserves for capital that they let us have on hand, just for consumer price index changes. So it's basically the same thing they've had the last 8 years.
In the past, we've had deferrals. Is there anything like that coming up with the economic stimulus package?
Yes, but the deferral section's still in there.
Okay.
That we can ask for annually.
Just to back up one step higher on this, what we do is we owe the state of New York $17 million on the bridge. We repay that at $75,000 a year.
In the past, we were able to get deferrals, so we didn't pay the $75,000 a year, but we're paying it now again.
We paid it 3 years in a row now. Yep. And we had deferrals for the 3 years prior to that.
And after 50 years, we are down $2 million.
It's already at $22 million. If you throw the forward in, we owe $19 million, so we're down about 3 after 50 years.
One of the things I'd like to do in the future on
We're kind of upside down on our financing, I'd say, yeah.
one of the things I'd like to do in the future on this is prior to submitting any agreements that tie the board into that situation, I'd like to have that somewhat approved and give you some area of discretion to move. Or when you do it, I don't want to see you come back here and then have this board turn it down. So next
You mean
time,
the deferrals, what they asked for deferrals?
I'm talking about the agreement to pay back the $75 million, not the deferrals. But the agreement that he sent down there is the same as it was the last time. But the board doesn't know that.
There are annual agreements that you signed.
No. Every 5 years. 5 year agreement. But I'm just saying to him, I think that should come from the board before it goes down there.
So every 5 years we should see one of those.
And we should approve, to give him his guidance to do it. We might want to pay $85,000. I don't say we do, but that's what I wanted to give him that guidance. Okay? Yep. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make one comment. I mentioned the exit conference that we had with the auditor, and at the end of that, I said, what can we do to help this process? He pointed out, number one, there were no adjusting journal entries recommended. Number two, there were no past adjustments. So Mark should get a big attaboy for that. And the last thing, I said, is there anything we can do, Joe? And he said, well, it would have helped to maybe start this a week earlier.
So are you going to give us a refund then? Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way.
A week earlier, they look harder.
But if that's all we could come up with, I think that's pretty good, yeah.
Good job.
Good job, Mark. Good.
Okay. Mark, you got anything else? The board got any questions? Mr. Reish, you got a good report, I know you do.
We had several inquiries. Last month we submitted some rates for an interstate-based ship agent for wind turbines for potential cargo for 2010. At this time they're just exploring different options, looking at several different ports. We replied to 2 additional cargo opportunities for outbound shipments of wood pellets, and these are plants that are under development in Ontario and Quebec to meet renewable energy standards. So again, they're probably 2010 or 2011 potential cargoes. We continue to negotiate with a Canadian-based firm for inbound bulk shipments of agricultural products, and I'm hopeful that we will hopefully have an agreement for the August meeting. And in addition, there was an inquiry from a firm in France that's exploring inbound shipments of bulk agricultural products. As Wade mentioned, we continue to work with consultants on the Port Master Plan. We're advertising and participating in the highway to promotional maps for the Great Lakes Seaway System. Some new radio spots are running in WNCQ for the port facility. Wrote and submitted a grant application for $4.8 million in assistance to the Upstate Regional Blueprint Fund for the Bridgeworth Rehabilitation Project. And as part of that effort, we reached out to the city, the county, area economic development organizations like the NCA and Development Authority of the North Country, as well as our state and elected officials to get letters of support to show that it's a regional-type project. I understand there's $250 million in applications for $150 million in funds for it, so it's going to be very competitive, but it's a good application, well worth the effort. We're looking into Tiger grants, as I mentioned at the last meeting, and I believe we'll be writing a grant application for that. DOT is also working with us, and they may, they're going to include the bridge rehabilitation project with their submissions for Tiger grant funds. But we will also, at the same time, be working on an application to make sure that it's good. And the responses from those will be meeting with companies week of July 20th. And with our arrangement with the radio station upstairs, we've It's basically a swap for rent. We've done some ads for the bridge and the industrial park also on WNCQ.
John, can I ask you a question? I heard a vicious rumor that the helicopter service that went into the Maxon Field from New Hampshire came here and they were priced too high. Did they come here to look for space to run their helicopter service and to rent a terminal or to rent a hangar?
Yeah, they looked last week, and then we read over the weekend that they were looking in Alexandria Bay. And I talked to them yesterday, and
we rented all of Maxim Field for apparently less than we wanted to charge them for a month, is what I heard.
I think they said it was comparable to ours, but it was a bigger hangar when I talked to them yesterday. And he has not signed a lease, is what he said, and that we're still in the running, and we haven't proposed any firm rates to them yet.
It's in the paper today.
Oh, it is?
15 to 20 new jobs over at A-Bay.
Okay. I just saw the News 10 coverage. But according to what he said yesterday, he hasn't made a decision yet. He hasn't signed a lease anyways. He still wants to see our numbers.
Wow. Okay.
What do they do?
It's a helicopter service from New Hampshire, and they want to actually eventually move their entire operation here.
Well, that's for the passengers and stuff?
No, some of it is actually repair and maintenance, also a school, and also possibly tours. In fact, Seiko Chef, who had come over here before, got his helicopter license, kind of got them interested in this area. That's where he took his training from.
Yes.
And I had heard that we had wanted like $7,000 a month, and it was just absurd, and that's where they went and they rented all of Maxon Field for what it would have cost them for a month.
Yeah.
Now, I know how rumors are,
That's not
but
the case. As we're discussing specifics, let's discuss specifics.
You know, going with rumors.
that's what I'm saying, because I mean, you know, we hear something like that.
Put a fact against it. Over a year ago, I saw the article in the Governor Tribune that Seiko Bachev was looking to start to get his his helicopter license. So at that point, we reached out to Seiko. We talked to him. We showed him the article.
Actually, I said Seiko to you guys, but okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, we've talked off and on over the course of a year.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. We're here today. We showed up last Thursday. Last week, anyway. Looking to start a tour operation. He brought with him a gentleman from MBM Helicopters, and basically we gave him a tour. Didi Skozapapa was there as well. We gave him a tour of the facility. We showed him the general aviation area adjacent to the Cape Air terminal, the passenger terminal. We showed him the new transient hangar as well, and we quoted some specific figures, and we also showed him some classroom space over in the industrial park. The figures that we quoted at the time, we quoted $1,000 a month for the new transient hangar that is not yet available. That's still going to take between 60 and 75 days to get the pavement down in front of it. And we quoted them $7.25 a square foot over in the Jack and Jill daycare building.
About $1,500 a month for the whole operation is what we proposed.
That would be a classroom space and a hangar?
Yes.
Yes.
But that hasn't been done in writing yet, and we've been reviewing that in light of the announcement about Alexandria Bay. And what he said was that, what he told me was a very comparable price to A-Bay, the bigger hangar facility. We might have a little bit of an advantage because we have fuel tanks in place, and they have one there, but it may not be permitted. Some additional costs. We're still working on it.
I read in the paper today, which is...
That's a done deal then?
Yeah, that was in the paper today. But they've rented all of Maxim, and they're first going to do flight school, tours with Seiko, and repairs maintenance, and if they want to actually move, possibly, but apparently this guy was stationed at Drum years ago, his kids went to Indian River Central Schools. He wants to maybe move all his operations here. When I say here, I mean Maxim now.
Yes.
And that was in today's paper.
Now, is that airport equipped and to do passengers and all of that stuff? They got the fire trucks and the safety equipment. They got all the security. They got all that stuff up there.
They're good points. I don't know.
I don't know. That's where you are. I mean, you get in the field versus a professional airport. You get an international airport versus...
It probably depends.
I'm just saying, I know the guy wants to open a business here, but let's look at the issues. You got fire trucks.
Well, he wants to
a while up there.
Which is flight school training, right? Because he does helicopter training.
And he definitely should have somebody around that's going to be there. If something happens to one of them training students, that's his business.
And everything, in answer to your question here, everything's been above board and fully disclosed with it. There's no...
The numbers sound out of whack to me, okay?
So I think he's on the road in the back. I see him on TV the other night, and it just shows they want to take people.
Well, Seiko wants to be in the back. You don't understand. We're talking about two different situations here. Seiko HF is a police officer in Governor, a local police officer. He wants to do tours of Alexandria Bay and possibly do medical transit, okay?
Yeah.
This other company, Seiko got interested in coming back here because that's where he went and took his flight training from and thought, oh goodness, this would be a great place to do our helicopter training, train pilots, and also repair helicopters. And so that, we're looking at two different things, although they would mesh together nicely.
Yeah, there's actually a third company that does the instruction. Yeah. Maybe missed opportunity, that might be better for them there.
So maybe follow up with them to see if you read take a look at the paper and see if it's what you think I read, and then say, hey, what's going on? Are we done? Okay. Because 15 to 20 jobs would be nice.
Is there anything else? Okay, Steve, you're next.
I'll just touch on a couple, one item from each area there. On the bridge, where the bridge maintenance crew's basically working on safety cabling, working on installing that system, and the maintenance deck welding is complete this year. Over in the airport, we hope to get started this week on the apron expansion and rehab project. That's all the paving in front of the new hangar that we're talking about there. And the next couple of days, we will be with the FAA doing the inspection and certification of the airport for the rest of the week, and that'll start tomorrow. On the port, most of the activity has been focused on moving salt. We got a salt load in Friday. That was roughly 29,500 tons of North American salt, and that was all delivered to the end of the pier there. And right now we're relocating all that to the inner harbor. So if you take a look down there, you'll see one big red pile on the end, and you can kind of see that we're starting another one on the inner harbor with that. And then we're rolling things in probably somewhere 8 to 14 rail cars a day, and we're offloading that for American Rock Salt. So that's keeping all our equipment fairly busy. So that's quite a lot of activity there, and that's about it.
Any contacts with wind turbine people for next year heading?
Yeah, John's, we've had inquiries just in different things there, from mostly, on looking for rates and things like that.
How many years out?
I don't know, next year.
Like next year?
A year or two, yeah.
I've seen a couple ships go down, but they had turbines on them, but I don't know where they're going. But
if you do notice on the highways, that's all stopped. I remember last year, or last couple of years, you always see someone 37. I know that's just, you don't see, we might see probably it's just a repair part or something, but even that's slowed down. But I haven't seen the number that we did on the water like we did last year.
Yeah.
It's just a sign of the times, I guess.
Hey, what do we expect in tonnage this year?
For salt, somewhere between 160 and 180, I think, and that's with 3 companies.
Okay. My question is, and maybe you can't answer this, but you know I am about handling material 2 or 3 times. It's a big cost.
Right.
A tremendous cost. Is there any way that we can get that salt moved out of the port to the towns, villages, because we've got to move it. Why can't we go to the towns and villages now rather than wait till winter when all ice and snow's on the roads? Is there any way we can move that salt directly to the consumer that wants it? And have we got the orders to do that?
No, what it is the commitments haven't been made. A lot of the townships haven't made the commitments, so the salt companies don't know where all their orders are going yet. And the other one is there was spring fill-ups because March was so.
Well, let me ask it this way then: wouldn't the salt companies be better off to contact the people that they do business with and tell them that if they move it out of there now, directly out of there now, it would be cheaper for them per ton, lower the price that they're paying, so they don't have to handle it twice and then have that added cost on that we're charging the towns and the villages?
I don't get anything from state contract folks, so I don't know if that possibility is in there. I don't know if they need to
talk to these people about that.
We can.
I mean, these salt companies, they deal directly with the villages and the towns. What do they deal with?
We buy a state contract or county contract. The town of Posse gets county contract. County does business with whatever the salt.
Yeah, and like right now, the county contract, I can't say for sure, but I haven't heard that that's out yet. So they don't. I think they round up who wants to be in it, and then they make their bid to the salt.
Wouldn't that salt company that's bringing it in by ship be better off to contact them and see?
Yeah, they could, but the quantity you're talking about, Fred, is constantly rotating. In other words, if you looked out in northern New York, you might be only talking a capacity of 25,000 tons or 30,000 tons, and that's if it's empty. So then if you take that 30,000, that may be one vessel, so you still got all that salt sitting in there, and you got nowhere to put it because you're not throwing it back on the roads, with the weather and anything like that. So, we're constantly refilling these people. We did send an order, we did send out 7,000 tons to,
it seems funny to me, and I don't want to interrupt you, but it seems funny to me last year the state had a ship come in directly for them for a price increase in the salt. I remember this very clearly. In the middle of June or July last year, and they dumped it and took it out of here.
That was 1st April.
And they took that out of here because they knew the increase was coming, and the salt companies told them, so the state bought it. Well, that's what I'm saying now is kind of the reverse way, is we've got to move that and add a cost onto this consumer. It doesn't matter who it is. If the county and this salt company could talk to these people, they may come and haul it out of there, and we only have to handle it once.
Sure.
I mean, it would be better for everybody. I don't know if anybody's approached the salt company on that, but if they got to get a contract with the county, they might as well do it now and save some money. The county definitely would like to save money, and so would the towns and the villages. That's all I'm saying.
Well, just on some of that note, we have empty space in December on the end of the dock, for example. And I offer that up to any of the shipping salt companies that they can dump that last load right there. It won't cost them a dime for us. They can use it right out of there, and we clean that up all during the winter.
But I just see that our equipment's being used twice. It's getting wore out. It's getting more use on it, and we're charging that price back to somebody. I mean, that's what I've been told.
Salt company.
And basically, the salt company. I mean, I'm just saying I would be talking to them to make that decision. And I believe the county would make that decision if they're going to save $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. I mean, they're looking for every dollar they can save today. This may be a great, tremendous savings for them. Plus, the salt company gets the contract.
Well, I'll call Bill Dashnon just on the county end of it.
No, I think you got to call the salt company. They should call Bill Dashnon and see if they can get him to buy that salt and sign the contract with him to move it. And the county can move it, or the town can move it, or wherever.
All right.
It's just a suggestion. It's something we should take a look at. Any questions of Steve? Committee reports. Personnel Committee.
Yes, we met this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and the main purpose was to review the New York State enacted legislation of Section 22 or 27B of state labor law, which talks about workplace violence prevention policies and response procedures. And we'll let Wayne take us through it because we had a couple things that we reviewed, and just to change a couple of words in there or whatever. And I guess our point is to make this to a board policy this evening, Wayne?
Yes, there's an agenda item before the board this evening, and probably when we get to it in the business item, it'd be most appropriate to go over it.
He's going to do it now, we're going to do it in the resolution part.
If you want to just do the resolution.
Okay. We also met as far as some personnel type of situations, and we'll talk about in the resolution later on that we'll bring forth later. So that's what I have, Frank.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions? No facility committee meeting. Finance committee, Mr. Donald Hooper.
Since I'm on vacation, I did not look at any vouchers today.
Can you come down, Ramona, when you...
Well, that's why she was out here looking for you.
I went through them calendar.
Did you?
Yes. I have a couple questions you answered for me.
Great.
I'm visiting on?
Fine.
Okay, I'm sorry, Roger. Did you want something?
What's that? No, I said I went through them and so.
Did you go in there with Paul? Well, that's good. I know she was out here looking for her aunt, Don. Unfinished business. Events and activities. August 4th is the next board meeting.
Mr. Chairman, would it be the appropriate time to get the consensus of the realtor at this point?
I think the gentleman in the back is the guy that's got to tell us what days he can do it. We'll give him 3 dates.
That's July 13th, the 27th, or August 3rd. Available. If it works for the majority.
Now, will we start here in Ogdensburg and just go to Norfolk and then drive back in the car?
My van from here to Norfolk and get on either the locomotive or high rail vehicles and come back this way. And everybody leaves those home from here.
No. It's not an overnight trip then. Okay. No daddy Whatever dates is available.
Well, those 3 dates are on the table. You pick which one you want.
13, 27, whatever. I'm good with any of the dates.
I can do July 13th or 27th, but I'll be out of state for the first 2 weeks of August.
So it's got to be the 13th or 27th.
13th on Monday.
Mary?
Yes, the 13th. Well, I was a tag along, so I'm going to wait to hear what the new board members can do, and if I can come along, then I will do that.
No, you're
So Sam and Steve, go ahead and tell me what you guys would work for you.
I'll work with the 13th.
13th's good with me.
Thanks, 13th. No, it's a little lucky date, 13th or 13th?
It's a Monday. When you're Italian, why would that be unlucky? I don't know.
Yeah, it's today, the 7th, so it'll be next Monday.
So we meet here what time?
Why don't we say
11 o'clock, the gentleman said.
Monday the 13th, we'll pick you up here with the van and shuttle you to
7 a.m.?
That's 7 a.m.
Is that what you want?
Fine with me. We'll accommodate. How many is the final count then?
Whatever, we're 11, 9, 4, 5, huh? What's that? We're all 9 o'clock. We're going 8 o'clock here, 9 o'clock now.
Hey, watch it. Call me caboose again.
I mean,
What time do you want to do?
I mean,
There's a 7
a.m. is fine. Or
Okay.
you know, we'll look out.
Are you going to go 7? Fine. Are you going to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do?
3, 4, Fred's 5, John 6.
Roger, you're going, ain't you? You're
I've been
going.
going a few times.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, you were probably on that bumper.
That's right. You've done it.
We appreciate it.
So we're going to meet here at 7 a.m.
But 6 people will probably wind up taking 2 high rail trucks because 6 people in a locomotive, there's not enough window space. Everybody will be, you'll be like in a closet or in an elevator, really. So if there's 6 people, we'll take 2 high rail vehicles. So 3 on each vehicle.
High rail would be better for everybody can get out too.
Yeah.
so yes. Jerry, throw me in that count there too, please.
That's 7 then, right?
7.
Unless you already had me.
Well, we put a lawn chair in the back for them.
There you go. That works. Okay.
Nice day. You want to be outside.
Okay, we got 13th locked up.
Sunny day, warm that morning.
Yeah, that's just, I like cleanness and security, no, right? 8 o'clock here, right?
7.
No.
Getting an extra half hour sleep.
No, I'm trying to get my exercise in.
What about me? You look at me like I'm
You were demanding it. I think I have 7.
Well, we said 7 times.
I know.
August 4th, okay?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
July 13th.
No, but for the regular meeting.
Yep.
When will you be back?
Not until the 17th.
Oh, okay. I mean, it doesn't matter. We usually sometimes will move, 4 or 5 days
So it'll be 2 weeks.
to accommodate the board members.
4 o'clock again?
It'll probably be early for the
Board meeting is
right. 4 is fine. So that's okay. Okay. Business items.
Hey, a couple of business items for your consideration today. The first one is agenda item A1. This is requesting the board's support for the application for funding to the Empire State Development Upstate Regional Nutrient Fund. It's definitely a mouthful. This is our $4.8 million grant assistance that we've submitted to the fund, specifically for the bridge. What we can do here is we can combine our existing $20 million allocation in funding through New York State DOT to pay for a portion of the overall $90 million project for the long-term capital needs of the bridge. Based on the rules of the program, the maximum that we could submit was for $4.8 million.
Dave, I have to tell you, correct me if I'm wrong, but for as long as I've been on the board, I don't remember passing a resolution quite like this. And so, with that said, I'm wondering if, to make it a little bit more palatable, we could change some of the language so that we've reflected the fact that, in fact, I jotted some words down, like due to exigent circumstances, namely the bridge's aging condition and the lack of allocation of stimulus funds, the board feels compelled to take the unusual action to advocate on its behalf and strongly encourage blah, 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 blah. Because we normally don't get involved in this sort of thing where we might send out letters to our elected officials saying this is what we're looking for, but to me this is an unusual step we're taking. And I'm just wondering if, since I don't want this necessarily to become seen as a historic practice or something we've done in the past, that they understand that the reason we're doing this is really because we're groveling for money at this point in time.
Fair statement.
Am I wrong? Have we ever, I don't remember ever passing a resolution that basically did this sort of
What you've done is passing authorizations
right,
for the staff to do the...
right, to apply for the grant. I mean, to me, this is just really unusual, and to highlight that, and also highlight the fact that we know this is unusual. I'm a little concerned with the language. We kind of get lost in the language. And then the past will be, we didn't pass a resolution, and why would we give you that grant, or, that sort of thing. I'm a little nervous about that.
The wording of the plea, what we're rationalizing, is that what you're saying?
That the resolution state why we're actually doing something that's not routine for us.
Okay.
And to me, I think that the reason we're doing this is because at this point in time we got left out of the economic stimulus funding, and we're looking for every source there is. And to be quite honest, we've invested $389,000 in engineering studies on our own nickel, on the taxpayer's nickel, no grants for that we're trying to make sure was money well spent, and it certainly was. In the next 10 years, we know the engineering is great. But to really highlight the fact that because of the calamities of what happened with what has happened with not only the economy but also the stimulus money, that we felt compelled to do something like this.
More strongly worded.
Or more unusually worded. We've never done this, so...
These touch on the criteria they'll use for evaluation. That's what I based it on. So that's why I did that.
And I'm not criticizing the process, but just the fact that I don't remember ever doing something like this before. And I could be wrong. I mean,
This is a highly different program than we usually go after.
Right.
So it's a one-shot deal, particularly around $160 million.
It's supposed to be ongoing. There's supposed to be quarterly opportunities to file, but from what they've said, most of it could be gone in the first
Not in one shot.
There you got the word you want to change.
Yeah, due to the exit, and I'll get these to Patty if everyone likes them, and I'm not pressuring. I'm just saying,
For the board members, we'll get it going.
due to the exigency of circumstances, namely the bridge's aging condition and lack of allocation of federal stimulus funds, the board feels compelled to take the unusual action to advocate on its behalf and strongly encourage blah, blah, blah.
Okay. With those added, do we have a motion to second Mary's motion? For the resolution?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Mario will put his drawers up. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Stronger the better.
Okay, second item, Mark, you want to take the D&O insurance, please?
Sure. We've got two insurance policies renewing this month. The directors and officers liability insurance and the employment practices liability. Coverages will remain the same, at $2 million per each policy. And you see there that the premium quoted is $13,598, which is a 7% decrease from last year's premium, $14,696.
Now, why do we have a decrease? Because you advocated for that?
I did not advocate. They're including them to the market. They found the same company, cheaper price.
Have you been with their carrier long?
Yes, we have been with them 6-7 years at least.
Have we ever had a decrease in these?
This is
Bridge, yes. After the tariff thing happened?
$14,000 for the last 4 or 5 years. So this doesn't move up or down too much usually.
But 7% is pretty significant, isn't it?
We haven't had a claim since we've done with them. But that is significant.
We've used that rationale for the airport and everything else, and they've still raised it. Yeah, I mean, okay.
One of the things, Mark, on this, you say is for the officers and liability. Since that new law has been passed in regards to the board now doing for fiduciaries, we're going to money here. Something happens as that grows, and we don't have any money set aside, and this board now is with the new laws being changed and all this stuff when it comes to the retirees and the members. It's up to us now to make sure. I don't know what that is, but $2 million don't cover it.
I don't think this is meant for that particular type
That's
of
the question I'm asking.
What I think the suggestion was from the auditor was maybe establish a reserve.
Right, but I'm saying that reserve, that's what I'm saying, but you're on what I'm saying, but the rules and procedures, I don't think this covers that type of action to say that something did happen. These board members could be held liable for that because they are now the fiduciaries of that. I have a problem with that word. So I want to make sure we're covered for that, Mark.
I got to tell you, ask Frank sitting down there. I have never seen a D&O policy that actually covers something. So in as much as we need to spend this money because we need the protection, I got to tell you, if a claim arises, the first thing they're going to do is disclaim it, and we'll be fighting it. And so that's the hard part. You keep saying, are we covered, are we covered? The answer is going to be yes, and the minute we have a claim...
Well, no, we're talking about this new thing about the pensions and the health insurance issues. I'm covered, I serve as a trustee, so I know what I carry. I carry $20 million.
Yeah.
Well, you have asked your D&O carrier, things that are covered and paid out.
But your pension thing is through the state of New York. You fund that liability every year based on what they tell you, the controller tells you. When they run short of money this particular year, they're going to raise that rate up, and you won't know about it until you get the bill probably the end of the year. But as far as other unfunded liability, it doesn't sound like it's all that astronomical at this point, but it'd be a good time to start your reserve fund just for that. The unfunded liability for...
And I'm going to look at the insurance to put it on the board members to make sure they're covered.
So I think, you
Mark, you find that money.
You got to do a resolution, establish this reserve fund.
Yeah.
For the uninsured.
Well, don't fit in here, at least we talked about it, asset.
Now, is that something that comes up in the budget next year, then? You'll make a recommendation for the budget next year for unfunded?
Yeah, we can reserve that next month if you want to reserve the $61,000 this year. And call it a restricted asset, that's fine.
So I understood it.
Yeah, start it out. Whatever. It's going to get bigger.
I don't want to get hit down the road.
Well, that's the only one I think you got a real liability on is the health insurance for the retirees because it's unfunded. But the pension itself is not really unfunded. It may be you may have under-contributed, but that's because you wait for the controller to give you the answer how much you're supposed to contribute.
Yeah, he won't give you no answers.
I know.
But when it comes to this board's responsibility, I just want to make sure we're covered.
You will be covered because you pay whatever he asks, and if it gets to be too astronomical, they may give you 3 years to make the payment of what you owe this particular year. That'll depend on how much the investments have actually lost. Because every town, village, city is going to be involved in the same problem. Because you're going to get a bill that you haven't funded for.
Okay.
I seen them go out even longer than that. There was one, they went out 17 years.
Your city or something, yeah. But those are protect items. That's just an obligation of the board to do. The unfunded liabilities is something that's going to continue to grow, and there's no funds here. By establishing a reserve fund, now you're going to have a fund to try to offset it. And every year you get a report of how much you're under, so you can keep putting that money in.
And every year the comptroller says the market did great, you don't have to put anything in, you put it in anyway. We all learned from that, didn't we?
Yeah. The last time we said the market did well.
Yeah, and how many years were they? Didn't they have to be just floated?
3-4 years we didn't pay the bill.
Yeah.
Didn't have one.
It was worth 10 years.
We couldn't send on the reserve fund for a section account.
Right.
Not allowed by state law.
Yeah, okay.
So we need to take
That's why we go to overall committee.
We'll find that in here with the school district to try to keep the ball.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Again, Mark, you're close with this one, bridge property damage insurance. This is our main insurance policy. This covers the property on the bridge itself. July 29th is the expiring date of this. Lloyd's of London, once again, had the lowest bid this year at $98,610. You'll see that's a $5,000 increase from last year's $93,000 premium, but still less than the 07-08 premium. All those coverages are the same with a $3 million deductible, $1.8 million income loss limit, and a $65 million insurance coverage.
Yeah. We can argue with them, we've had no claims, it still goes up. Or if there's terrorism, it goes way, way up.
Gary always made the motion, do away with it.
I'll make the motion to do it. Accept that.
Second?
I make a motion.
Go ahead, Roger.
I make a motion.
Okay, Sam second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Item A4, approval of appointment of toll collectors. Toll collector applications were submitted externally for a 2.5-week period from May 8th to May 17th, with applications due on May 26th. Well over 280 applications were received. The selection committee conducted 17 interviews to fill 2 vacancies. Personnel committee met earlier today and concurs with staff's recommendation that Jessica Main and Jason Langstaff be appointed to the positions of toll collector at the grade 9 starting salary of $17.24 per hour, effective on or about July 22nd.
Now, I can't be silent on this agenda item. I'm really upset about this. We did not have 2 retirees. We had 1 retiree. The personnel committee was charged with going and looking for someone to replace the retiree. Why are we hiring for 2 positions? When, I might remind our new board members who would not know this, just a couple of years ago, we eliminated 2 full-time and 1 half-time, if I'm correct, positions. And in fact, because I was personnel committee chairperson, I remember kind of worrying the rest of the employees here that we were done with our cuts. We were still looking at cuts. It's disrespectful that we go out and hire a second toll collector when we've already eliminated 2.5 positions because we couldn't afford their salaries, plus on top of that, for our new board members' benefit, we're paying benefits at a rate of 33%, about a third of their salary in benefits. We only need 1 toll collector. What happened that we have 2 going on here?
So we had a meeting of the personnel committee. The personnel committee directed to hire 2 individuals. We interviewed 200. We followed the process, posted the position, received 280 applicants.
I understand that. You posted that position. What happened with the personnel committee that they decided to fill 2 positions? I will tell you what. I sat at this exact table. Roger, I don't remember if you were here. I really don't. I know Mr. Thune was here. I think Mr. Hooper was here. And I know Mr. Nelson was here. And we had a colloquy, and I said it because it was a general discussion about eliminating part-time toll collectors. And there was a comment made about part-time America, blah, 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 blah. And let me be the first to defend this authority. We have a lot of full-time people here who are very well paid. Some of you may disagree, I apologize, but they also have very good benefits. We can't be everything to everybody. We don't have a lot of part-time people here. So the fact that we do have a very small area in which we have part-time toll collectors, I don't see as infringing upon our being good stewards of government money, and to be quite honest, taxpayers' money. And it bothered me that the Personnel Committee apparently expanded its authority and decided to hire 2 positions when only probably 3 months ago the colloquy of the board was it makes more fiscal sense, it's more fiscally responsible, and it would be imprudent to go ahead and increase our costs, hire another person on with 33% benefits. And I got to tell you what, I searched my soul. It was very difficult for me to advocate losing 2 full-time and 1 half-time positions, to now have those people reading the paper that all of a sudden apparently we're full of money and so we're bringing on another position, when in fact I've never been over the bridge and had that toll booth not covered. But I can tell you we are missing someone within this office. Am I saying we hire someone back within this office? No, but it just seems disrespectful, not only to the board, but also to those people's positions that we eliminated. What is going on?
Well, let me say this. I remember talking about this very clearly at the last board meeting.
It wasn't the last, because there was 2 board members that were
talking about getting the position. I believe we're down to 2 toll collectors. We're down 3, but
how
we're down 2. Well, Pete just retired.
Right.
And then there was another gentleman that went off. We didn't replace him.
John Derby. That was John Derby.
And we replaced another gentleman who went off on disability for a while there. And then he never come back. Gold. Wasn't he a full-time collector?
He was my dog.
Well, when he was here, I know that as a toll collector. So the issue is the question was raised very clearly that 2 people put us back into, hiring 2 people puts us back into the 5 rotation schedule, which eliminates a lot of problems and schedule problems that we've had. Maybe not, I don't know.
Well, if we don't have a problem, let's not fix it. If it's not broke, let's not fix it. Let's not fix it with something benefits.
We put the thing out in the paper that the resolutions are here.
I've been misled, though, as a board member.
I don't think you got misled.
No one ever said we're interviewing for 2 positions. It was the person retired, we're publicizing it, we're putting it out in the paper. I said, great, that's what you're supposed to do.
In the paper, 2 positions.
Maybe it has. Shame on me for not reading the health wanted ad, but I got to tell you right now, I got my hands full and I don't usually peruse those. But I don't know how we decided, and to me it's a policy decision, how the board decided to hire 2 positions when only 1 person retired and the Personnel Committee was charged with replacing that person.
Like I said, we're down 3.
Are we having, who's scheduling? They're your direct report. Are we having trouble covering the toll booths? They're your direct report, aren't they?
Right.
Are we having trouble scheduling?
We're going to have trouble with 5 toll collectors.
Right now?
Right now, no. With what we've got, yeah. We're not having trouble.
You're not?
Yeah.
So why fix something that's not broken?
Let me say something here, a little bit here, whatever. It's kind of like, just trying to think the directives that I was looking at, whatever. If I'm wrong, Steve, or whoever wants to speak up, go ahead. It was my understanding contractually what we had was we had 4 people, and then Pete retired, we're down to 3, and contractually, it says we're supposed to have 5. Am I correct so far?
That's correct. Schedules A5 of the Personal Service Position Agreement with CSEA, which represents that we have toll collectors in parentheses 5 positions, grade 9.
And who is
We have been operating here at the authority with 4 full-time positions, that 5th position being covered by temporaries.
Right.
So that's a grievance issue. If someone wanted to grieve that, they could grieve that.
I don't know if it's grievance.
I wouldn't pretend to speak for CSEA.
So what we're trying to do is fulfill that obligation contractually we're with us, and that was the directive to go with 5. No, I
See, I'm a lot of religions on Bill there on that schedule. So if we fill 1.
What happened to our principal stenographer and the other 2 people that were let go? Weren't they in that schedule too? And we were able to let them go. And to be quite honest, again, we gave them severance packages, which we would say as a board were generous. But to them, I'm sure they took it very personally. I don't blame them. And I got to tell you what, I don't understand why we're creating a position that we don't need to create when just 2 budgets ago now we eliminated 2.5 positions because we couldn't afford them. Now we're bringing on a position with a 33% benefits when the system's not broken. I cannot support this resolution. That's fine. And I'm upset, to be quite honest, that we have new board members who may not know the background or may not know that we had just had this discussion, albeit generally speaking. Again, with the colloquy, it wasn't an issue from the personnel committee. And I'm disappointed.
Okay. Anybody else want to talk on the issue?
Please, would you read that again?
Certainly. Which resolution or the?
No, about the contract language about the 5 positions.
Schedule A5, regular service positions, total collectors, in parentheses, 5 positions, grade 9.
And the positions we eliminated, are they also in that schedule?
There is I'm trying to remember what that title was.
They are in that position.
They got nothing to do with the resolutions. Those people...
No, but my point is we're not contractually required to fill those positions that we...
But those people could have transferred into those positions with their seniority rights, too. They didn't wish not to. Those people were offered an opportunity. They offered to retire and take the severance package. That's not the issue in front of us today. Right now,
I just think we can't hide behind the contract.
5 people, that's what it calls for.
And that's the same thing. Hire back everybody we let go.
No, that's not okay. So
that is the same thing. If you're going to hide behind the contract, that's exactly what you're doing, Fred. And I highly disagree. It's an imprudent use of money. And it's fiscally irresponsible at this point in time.
From a matter of contract, it says you have 5 positions. That means you have to fill.
That's exactly right.
It's up to the board to make that decision. Right. This says you have 5 full-time, grade 9, not particular. Doesn't mean you have to fill. You figure you don't have the need, you don't fill.
Well, it costs too much, to be quite honest. I'm not advocating going part-time in every other department, but if the thing isn't broken and it's going to cost us more money to do it this other way, why are we doing it? Fred, you can't blame me. You know I don't like to spend any more money than I have to.
well, I believe that the need for the 5 full-time toll collectors, as I said, unknown to us, Pete retired. Okay? I didn't know he was retired. Boom, he retired. He was a toll collector. And we looked at the whole scope of the thing, and to get back, scheduling problems, and trying to hire people at minimum wage and put them out there as toll collectors is another nightmare. We don't pay a lot of money for people.
But we're not having trouble scheduling it. Are we having trouble scheduling it?
That isn't the issue that's in front of us. The issue in front of us is the Personnel Committee has brought a recommendation back for the full board to hire 2 people. The people's names are out here. They're in the positions. We got the positions. We got the money. And I make a recommendation we hire these 2 people. I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
I oppose, please, for the record.
Aye. Okay. Mary opposed. Moving on.
Thank you. Agenda item A5, approval of contract with McKenna Long and Aldrich. As you see here, the Richmond Port Authority received a proposal from McKenna Long and Aldrich to provide legal, strategic, and government affairs advice and counsel. This relates to the rehabilitation of the Ogdensburg Prescott International Bridge. The proposal includes a fee of $7,000 per month for a 6-month period and can be canceled at any time with 30 days' notice.
I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sorry about that, folks. I actually took something out of order. We missed the workplace violence policy.
You want to read that?
Actually, I'd like to pass it around. If I could.
These copies?
Yes, those are copies. These are the ones that should have been on the personnel committee. The changes that we talked about. There are 2 changes that were discussed at the personnel committee meeting that are not reflected on this. One is on page 3. Educational offerings, last sentence. Communications, problem solving, building effective working relationships, stress management, and related or similar course topics may be offered as a 1 or 2 day seminar/webinar. The addition of webinar. And the only other addition is on the last page, Ogdensburg City Police Department. It shows a number there, or dial 911.
On a motion?
So
Second.
Do we have anybody who needs to carry a gun?
Second it? Huh?
Do we have anybody on here who has a need to carry a gun? That
We do top of page 2. Provide the
Exemption for peace officers.
for peace officers. That last phrase, OBPA employees included, covers that.
Okay. No, I understand that. I want to make sure we understand the security out there.
Is it that thing? Are we saying aye? Aye. Opposed?
So, here's the next one up. I'm asking the board to advocate that DOT act on the funding applications that are out there for the Department of Transportation Passenger Freight Assistance and 2005 Bond Act program. We have currently 2 applications out there, one for $1.3 million through the Bond Act program, that's the Port Access Road. The other is that was submitted on September 30th by the New York and Ogdensburg Railway. It was for a $2.8 million application that funds milepost 11 to milepost 25. And the rest of the resolution you can see there.
Wait, isn't this kind of similar to the other one? Have we ever done resolutions like this? To act on a project funding application?
The reason this is before you is, quite frankly, we're having significant issues with the delay that's being introduced here by DOT, specifically because the Port Access Road allows for the handling of oversized, overdimensional cargo. It's a time-sensitive project. We can't afford to lose a construction season. And if we aren't awarded it, that's fine too. But we'll pursue it through other funding sources.
You don't think we're cutting our noses off to spite our face to kind of send something, this signals?
Not at all. I actually consider this to be a good thing because what we're doing is we're advocating on our own behalf. And
aren't we also saying do your job?
Could be interpreted that way.
we have some recent derailings that go directly to this.
In addition, we've had three derailments in the last 2-month time period, 2 of which occurred between milepost 11 and milepost 25. Specifically, I mean, I don't want to play the game, what if the application had been awarded? The original application announcement, or the announcements were supposed to be the end of last year. These derailments arguably would not have occurred had DOT stuck to their own internal time frame.
No, I'm aware of the derailments. I'm not familiar with our tact in using this sort of resolution before. I always thought we went through our elected officials to do things like this.
But we do. We do. And we,
they're aware of this.
Didn't we in the past go to them and say, look, we're really read in the paper, and then they've gone to DOT and said, get off your duff, so to speak? And why are we doing this? Have we already talked to our elected officials and they've told us to go away, or?
No, we have talked to our elected officials. This is
DOT told us to go and do whatever we can do to get money. They told us that right in Albany. They have no money for us. None.
So you think they'll welcome this sort of resolution?
And the resolution sticks to what we want to do now, is have the money designated for the Bridge and Port Authority, and then the DOT can't touch it. They got to give it to us. That's what the commissioner told me that day in the room down there. Am I right or wrong on that? Who else went with us that day? Mark? You were there. You were there. That's what he told us to do. You need to make sure your politicians designated for the bridge or the railroad or the bridge approach or for our new highway and whatever we got. These resolutions to me are fine.
It's not a bad practice to formally have the board formally pass a resolution advocating your position, not being the legislature on nothing.
So we'll be seeing more of these like this as a routine matter?
If you want. Well, we don't have to either.
Typically, you don't see this type of thing because the projects aren't delayed, 8 months from the initial date.
I'm just wondering, Jerry, let me ask this question to you. since you're the director of the railroad. We bought a lot of ties last year and a lot of stuff out of Terrytown. Have you been dipping into that?
A few of the ties have been used to repair the derailment damage, but it was in the project area, and that's been accounted for with through our, people are reporting that. The Terrytown material is it's all there, it's all available, but we're waiting for New York DOT to engage in an agreement with the Metro North rail carrier that's in that neighborhood to allow us to go in there and do the work. It's just a matter of one single page letter agreement, and that's in the hands of DOT right now. Waiting for that. Once we have that, we will move right in and remove all the material that's there.
And here's an excellent example, as long as that was brought up. At the meeting in Rutland that was held back on the week and a half ago here now, that was discussed. It involves DOT making an agreement with the county IDA that actually owns that rail infrastructure. They're not going to do it. For Jack Madden, they don't have the time to do that right now. Again, everything is stimulus focused, and being advocating on our own behalf is not a bad thing, in my opinion, because it helps us bring this project to light. It helps it move forward, and it's part of our responsibility to do that.
Project funding applications that were submitted last September. The project funding applications are to access money that's already been designated to us, or to give us money that...
We're urging them to act. I've been very careful here to urge them to act. Not act in our favor, but urge them to act. So they can act in any way they choose, but act on the applications that are up there.
That's not my question. Applications that are there, where's the money? Do they have the money? Do they already have the money?
That's a good question.
I don't know the answer to that. But they came here last year, if you remember, and talked to the board. And help me out a little bit here, Jerry. My memory tells me this. They sit here and told us, put in for this much money for this, and we were talking about the new rail house that we wanted to build, engine house we wanted to build, and everything. And then Jerry had made some suggestions that he update or do whatever work he could on the rail house or the engine house we have in Norfolk, right? We talked about that. At the same time, you had put in a request saying you wanted to upgrade some ties and rail in that particular area going into the rail house. And you had concerns about that. So we talked about that. And when they come back, they said, yeah, there's something like $200,000 or $300,000 we can move around here, and Jerry can do this, do that. And so finally the board kind of agreed to that because that's what we're going to do. Then he come back and said, you guys do a number, what you need to upgrade your line, tell us what mileposts, where you want to go, and if we got the money, we'll do it. We come up with a number, I remember right about 2.5, 2.8. Oh, they give us a phone call and said, listen, there's so many short line railroads in the business today that are out there for money. We think the 2.58 is high. And that can cut you out because another railroad is looking at 2.1. And if we don't have the 2.58 for use, that guy here is going to get the 2.1, you get nothing. Was that discussed?
Yeah, that's fairly accurate.
Yeah, kind of accurate. So anyway, we had another meeting of the minds, and you worked with Wade, and you did this, you did that, Let's face it, you know where the money is as well as I do. Let's not get the kids out of school. We're telling the truth. It's being held up by the railway division because they've been told to hold it up. Because they want to do the high-speed rail somewhere. And they want every dollar, every penny they get. Forget about us up here at the present time. We'll take care of that later. But now we've had 3 derailments. And I'm telling you, we need to do what we got to do to get our own money. We're an authority. We have the power to do it. We have more. We're going to get our own money. In 2003, we should have started getting our money for our bridge ourselves. We shouldn't have listened to Borman that day in Albany, Mary, when he took us down there and gave us the blessing and said, oh, we don't want you doing that. We want you going through the DOT. They became our partner. You were there with that meeting. You and Connie. Mm-hmm. And he didn't like me there that day either, Commissioner Portman, because I told him what he was going to do with us. Where are we? 2009, no money.
Well, But if we're just getting this resolution to our...
The resolution does it, we can move on.
Don't you think we should also send them the report? Because I would just look back in here, and it was Hoosier that actually, to stay competitive in the marketplace, would like the 286,000 rail capacity, but also the fact that we're relying on derailments. That's not in the resolution section, that is in the report section. So if anything, shouldn't we send the entire report with the resolution to them so that they know where we're coming from? These are emergency issues. But also, there's nothing in here, and maybe it'd be nice if we could amend at least the report to say, you know, that at least one of our customers can remain competitive in the marketplace, you know, we're hemorrhaging jobs up here, that sort of thing, to go with this resolution. I understand.
I understand. We'll make those amendments. We'll make those.
Because Hoosier, I just looked back and that's exactly what Hoosier has asked, and basically to remain competitive.
Yes.
We don't need any more manufacturing jobs to live in town. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I would make that motion. Okay. Do we have a second? Steve? I second. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
But with the resolution saying that the report, the end of the resolution is going to go.
You're going to give it.
Report, the end resolution.
You're going to wait and work on that language.
But I want to make sure we're okay with the resolution being at the end of the resolution, okay?
Roger's okay with that, right?
Two more items this evening. Agenda item C1 is for the Commerce Park. This is an approval of an agreement with the RSQ. This is a lease agreement for 833 square feet of space in the 6th industrial building, at a rate of $6.24 per square foot per year, period July 15th, 2009 through January 15th, 2010.
For a motion? I'll move that. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roger. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Section 2, other such items. Agenda item D1 is approval of a use permit with St. Lawrence County. NISARC. They've requested use of the authority's pavilion and beach area for the annual picnic on August 17th. Standard use agreement went out, which includes a hold harmless clause, requires NISARC to provide proof of insurance. Aiming OBPA is additional insurance and also requires a security deposit.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item D,
We'll talk about this after.
is under such other matters as may come before the board is approval of bridge crew member increase. This originated in the Personnel Committee. The authority's general maintenance mechanic is responsible for overseeing the annual maintenance of the Ogdensburg-Prescott International Bridge during the summer season. A backup person is needed when he's on vacation and approved time off. Personnel Committee met on July 7th to discuss the issue. Based on the discussion, it was recommended by the committee and staff that the seasonal bridge crew worker who provides backup to the general maintenance mechanic be paid an additional $1 per hour in addition to the regular hourly wage when this situation occurs.
So we already have this person on staff that's seasonal, and merely when the other head guy goes on vacation, he gets an extra $1 an hour. Is that
No, you're going to get $1 an hour as a working foreman in that capacity for the season.
all the time for the season?
Yeah, because otherwise who would want it?
But we've never had a backup before, right?
Well, no, we didn't, but now we're going to have one. Because Mr. Chappell, if he has to go on some other duties or vacation.
Is there an issue that if somebody's not in charge, we have people...
We should have somebody out there that's got that ability to take over.
Yeah.
So he'll be a working foreman. Steve says everything for this year is all set. We don't have to put that in. That won't go into effect the next year, right, Steve? Right, yeah.
In the hiring, we've already selected the person within the seasonal crew that's going to do that, or next year, depending on who reapplies?
I have somebody in mind.
But depending on whether they reapply and whoever reapplies, then
Yeah, exactly. We'll revisit that next year.
then you pick the person you think is most qualified.
Sure.
You're in support of this?
Sure.
Well, Steve, you want to make the motion?
A question. I just wanted to question, or a comment, probably more a question. We're only talking about $40 a week for 10 weeks, so it isn't a significant total amount of money.
No. And it's good that we have one of the guys out there that when Mr. Chappell has to go somewhere, he can just call on the guy and he's got him. So.
The reason, and this is a good education as well, the reason this is before the board, is the Director of Operations has authority to hire the seasonal bridge crew, but does not have the authority to go for the extra $1 an hour for the supervisory capacity. That's why this is a little strange.
Roger makes the motion. Steve, the second. Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. That's the end of the agenda items, I believe.
Yes, that's what we
So citizens and comments from board members, board and staff. Yes? Would you please identify yourself, ma'am, please?
Yes, my name is Barbara Laskow. I have a couple questions for you. I'd like to know how long you have run the toll booth for full-time workers and part-time workers.
Madam, I can't respond to that.
doesn't it, Mark?
Patty, you schedule.
4 or 5 years? So what's the issue? Why do you have to have full-time workers? What is the issue? You have done it successfully, I'm assuming,
Well,
4 or 5 years.
there's internal issues on some of it, but that I'm not going to discuss right now. I think it was during the discussion we discussed it, is we have a large pool of seasonal part-time people, I guess part-time people you call them, or temporaries, and they're paying the minimum wage. They're not paying any benefits. And the structure is we wanted to create full-time jobs here. And we had a person that retired, unexpectedly, I didn't know he was retired. I don't think anybody else did at the time. Maybe these staff people do. But Pete Mobility retired, so at the time we looked at it, we talked to our staff people and structured it, and this is what we come up with. It's the betterment for the authority. And that's where it's at.
Part-time people unhappy?
I don't know. Part-time people they're not covered by the collective bargaining agreement. I don't know. They're temporary people. If we have work for them, we do. It's no different in the summertime. We have work for the kids in the summer. We hire them. We don't.
Okay, now, next question. I'd like to know why the 7 part-time people were overlooked for that full-time.
They were not overlooked.
But they were.
No.
I'd be happy to answer.
We're not going to go into that debate. They were not overlooked. They were part of the interview process.
Okay, then can you answer this question? How can you hire someone off the street for a new position when you got 7 employees that applied for that position that have worked at toll booths, some of them up to 8 years, and they're not qualified for that position? I don't understand.
It's got nothing to do with that. It's got nothing to do with that.
Someone please.
We filled the full-time positions in accordance with the policy and the procedure we have here at the Bridge and Port Authority. That's what we did.
Can you answer why only 7 people were interviewed when it was posted? It was posted. Then it was 7 people were chosen for the interview, which were the part-time positions. Then all of a sudden it had to go to the paper. Can you answer that?
So that's where it should go. Once again, go ahead.
That's my fault, specifically. There's some language in our CSEA contract that says specifically that whenever a vacancy occurs, it's and the authority proposes to fill the vacancy, it'll post a notice on the bulletin board. It goes on to explain, so on and so forth, that any person employed full-time by the authority, permanent or temporary. And that's where the issue comes in.
And I'll take the blame for that. It was me who said, why isn't it in the paper? And that's when the process got me.
Temporary in the CSEA contract used to refer to temporary annual CSEA employees, not temporary toll collectors. When we found out the difference of that, we immediately switched to the external posting, taking the internal candidates that we have and including them in the 280 candidate pool.
So nobody got left out.
I still haven't heard how you can justify hiring someone off the street for a position when you have people that have been doing the position. Well, let me finish, please.
I'm not finished.
8, 7, 5, 4 years that have never been written up for the position. How can you justify? It's not even fiscally responsible to do it.
I can't justify why we would have that many people in the position of $7.25 an hour.
If they want to work it, what does it matter?
With no benefits and no
If
money.
they want to work it, what does it matter? That's their choice.
Your opinion and mine.
So I guess to answer your question, Mary, of earlier, why did they hire 2? I can tell you why they hired 2. I want you to look at it on this table. There was people at this table that knew 2 people that needed a job. That's why they hired 2. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. How you doing? Wade,
Just identify yourself for the record.
my name is Dick Sobey. This is my sister, Donna Hammond. I've talked to Wade before. It's kind of nice to see him in person and stuff. And over here, I'm not sure in previous conversation these people are aware of it. You and I discussed in the letter I sent and so on and so forth. I'm not sure what normal routine is here. But anyway, my father had this adjoining property for years. It's been left to our family, and we formed James Sobey's Evergreen Cottages, LLC. Okay? Now, we've been there, like, we've been over that property, our family since 1926, and so on and so forth. But since the introduction of this walking path, which we use and enjoy ourselves and stuff like that, we've had a few problems come up, and I've talked over the last couple of years to Wade about it and what possible things could be done. And he was, basically what we were trying to do is get some kind of a fence reestablished along the adjoining properties. But you're dealing with 450 foot of fence, and we realize how costly things are, and after listening to the nickels and dimes and millions and all this stuff here, I can see money's tight and very aware of that. But the last conversation I had with Wade, he basically said that the money was hopefully there, but it isn't going to be at this time because it's going to be utilized at the airport for fencing there and stuff. And he said he would keep us in mind and stuff like that for future things, which we appreciated and stuff. I told him a few concerns and problems we've had, and he understood them, and he was going to notify the local police and ask me to do the same thing. But basically, since our conversation, we've had a few more incidents occurred that my brothers, my sister, everybody said, look, we got to at least approach and get onto an agenda so that there's something kind of documented here. And basically, we all play sports and like this, but like there's softball going on right now. We've got a situation where the lack of bathroom facilities, the people are urinating against the fence, which the fence doesn't exist. I sent them a series of pictures to show the situation, all right? So I have a sister-in-law that babysits kids, and they're young kids, right up to most of the girls and stuff. And unfortunately, there's a few guys that are ruined for a bunch, but we've had real irritated with it, okay? Another problem is the fact that there's a leash law and stuff like that. We got our dogs over there too. Most of them are on free, but they're under the control of our property. So anyway, because there's no fence in the major area and stuff like that, we've got some of these dogs coming in and they're scared. All right? So again, I voiced this out and stuff like this, but we want to go publicly to the board meeting and actually have something hopefully documented that we're pursuing this. In the event, if money's ever allocated, there'll be something on record looking at our request. Okay? Now, a little bit of the history above and beyond these two late complaints is the fact, I don't know how the walking path came into origin. Like I say, we're not against it. But because of the walking path coming here, we've lost quite a bit of privacy. We've had exposure to people that we don't really want in our neighborhood. I brought a couple newspaper clippings here of a couple recent sexual assaults. One citing the gazebo as a driving point for a couple of people. Okay. Other times we've had transients coming through the area, associated with the bridge. They tried to cross the bridge, they couldn't. They actually slept in the gazebo and stuff, then filtered their way over to our campground and wound up spending as much as a month under Pete Green's camp down on the beach. This one time I had to be up here working, and I looked and I noticed this guy a couple of days in sequence and stuff like that, and I kind of kept an eye out for him. Well, come to find out, we assumed that he broke into the final camp, which, we opened camps and stuff like that, and actually we opened the door for the guy if he needed a place to stay. But unfortunately, after it was broken in, I called the police, gave a description. They caught him going down the highway. He had tried to cross the bridge, and he was carrying a big machete with him. All right. Now, the police didn't do it, and they let him on his way. They didn't confiscate the weapon. It came to my knowledge that the customs agents here also were aware of the machete, and there was no communication with the local police force. So having talked to Wade and stuff, we're having all these little problems and stuff, and I'd like some attention brought to it. Now, ideally, we would like a fence. It's a lot to ask. We're requesting it. We offer we don't want to offer any money. We can't speak for these grants and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, in terms of work or something, we'd be glad to work in conjunction with the guys and help clean it up and do things of this nature. But we have some items that are concerned, and I'm not sure what the approach is, but I just wanted the board to be aware of this.
Mr. Sobey, you need 450 feet, or is that your...
Well, originally, it was the state hospital. Okay, all the deeds and stuff, everything's referenced to that point. And ideally, we'd like the fence back, and maybe went to the point and said, okay, why don't you guys think about what type of fence you want? And that offers all kinds of cost, right? Ideally, a privacy fence in certain sectors would be ideal. But again, cost-wise, you don't compromise and stuff. And the old existing fence was the old wire with the barbed wire and stuff like this. And a lot of vegetation and stuff grew along it. So I was figuring like a page wire fence or something, 6 to 8 foot high, and just let either nature or grow this ivy or something like that, so it would give like a buffer for privacy. And I'm also aware that.
But is it about 450 feet you're looking for? That's about
450 foot, give or take. But that's the old, the old deed. But I had it resurveyed 2 years ago and stuff, and I got the exact.
But you need that much for privacy, and that's what.
Not totally that much. No.
Could you start with something smaller and expand as our funds grow larger?
Really,
I think we could use some of the airport fence.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is...
Now, I'm thinking public urination we would take care of by having them, if you want to use the fields, you got to bring in porta potties, right?
We had reuse in our facility, which they're just all okay, but it got so bad that my brother actually put a lock on his. And we hear people complaining about it. We didn't mind them using it. It was the fact that they were trashing.
Right.
And like I say, we've had more occurrences now, and some of the people, unfortunately, that are 99% of people out there are great. Right? We've gotten one that existed 30 years ago. I mean, this, not nothing to do with that. But it's more, it's changed the lifestyle of the campground, but back to this new toll, which I'm just curious too. I know that the existing path is on this side of the toll booth. The toll booth moves up here. Will this path remain as is, or is it going to have to be again?
The path actually would remain where it is. It would be relocated down towards the intersection, but that wouldn't be anything that would impact or physically move it away.
We weren't sure about that, but anyway, again, it's just like a request. I know money's tight and like that, and but it was possible to come up with something, or if there's any of these grants. And I was looking up to the guys of Homeland Security a couple of years ago. There was so much money available, it was ridiculous. And you see it going all over. And again, even in one country, you miss the world quite a bit. So basically, it's a request if you all keep it in mind and if you do come up some stuff, we'd appreciate it.
Well, one of the things I wanted to let you know, it's been discussed here many, many times. Steve, where's the fence? Where's the fence for over there? How many times have I asked you, we got fence for it, did we save any fences?
No, the fence that in the airport, where is it? That was used at Wall Street for last year's project. But we're doing a fence project this year. There'll be the same type of situation where there'll be excess fence.
Because I want the fence to go from the here. Because I'm worried about baby going over that bank.
Exactly.
We'll put up a lot of fences then.
Right, well, the existing fence actually...
And I know where your fence goes, and we've been looking at it for 2 or 3 years. And I told Steve, every bit of fence we get out from the airport, we wanted to put a lawn there. And we put some up.
We did right here, where they're immediately right there by the gazebo.
I agree with you. We need all the way along there.
None of the existing fence line that I'm talking about. This was back into the mid-1800s. And I sent Dave, I made us ready to all the pictures and stuff like that. And we can see it actually doesn't exist. We actually put a chunk of fence in ourselves just because my brother had his grandchildren there. And the dog issue, I talked to I wasn't.
Mary's uncle was here for a long time. Purple.
My grandfather, Charles.
I know Charles.
Mary can't make the motion because she was related.
Yeah.
And Uncle Pete's my uncle, so.
There's Pete. But we have talked about that fence in many board meetings.
But I didn't realize that the fence for the babies was the fence for the Soviets, no offense.
Well, the same thing up here is if one night I was walking and the little baby ran towards that edge, and America, the baby stopped. But it was like footsteps away.
That's a steep bank.
Oh, that's
below that bank? Is that what it is? Straight across. Okay.
There's 8 cottages and...
Was that your grandfather?
My grandfather was Charles Kerbo Sr. Charles was his son.
Yeah, and what was Red Kerbo?
Red Kerbo was
They were on the wonderful for a while. My father.
Red Kerbo was
the biggest bootlegger inside of
Took the baby with it. Did nobody pick up the vaccine?
No, that's fine.
Did nobody pick up the vaccine? So nobody was pick up the vaccine?
an ivy, other stuff is here, just grow natural. And that would give us a little buffer. Because we do have some weirdos coming over there, we've actually had to go in front of them.
Other one needs an 8-foot fence over there too.
6-foot fence.
But I'm just saying, even if we can't afford 450 feet, we could start somewhere. As long as it was something that was, consistent, we could keep it without it.
No, I agree. That's why I
Just
mentioned
because we can't afford 450 feet doesn't mean we shouldn't start somewhere and build on it.
We might have some.
Right, but I mean, but my point is too, just because we don't have anything for free doesn't mean we couldn't start somewhere.
Yeah. Well, we start with the free stuff first.
Okay, thank you very much.
If you do start, get something going, let us know if you want it. If you get started from the river end of the property and work that way, because that's the most concentrated.
Right, that would make sense. That would make sense.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for your input, thank you.
I'm going to still hope that works for you.
Don't forget to get in front of the camera. There you go, buddy.
It was lovely.
If you have one child get hurt, it's going to hail by what the cost of the fence will be.
Except there's no insurance to pay for a fence, let's face it. Really, that's what we're going on.
John, is there any grants out there for that type of stuff, for exercise trails and lighting and stuff like that? You know, I've always said that we need lighting along that side.
We got it for last time that we did funding, we did it for bench extension. They rail and prehistoric.
Historic preservation?
No, I'm saying.
What we'll do on it is we'll contact the city and see if the city won't come in and help us with this. And they might have fencing, and they might even have some way to help us with a grant by joining with us.
it also sounds like an appropriate issue that we should research and have before the facilities committee next month.
In the meantime, work with the city to see if they can help us with a grant.
It runs about, what Fred's talking for, I think 8-foot runs about $15 to $18 a linear foot.
Right.
So I think 1,500 would have got us all the way back over here, Fred.
I think you measured it right.
So multiply 1,500 times 18, well, call it 20.
Mm-hmm.
30,000. But if you use your stuff and you use our stuff and you were to use that same contractor and just pay him labor and say, when you take that down, spend 2 or 3 days, pop in all those pencils and put that back up with a rail, I think you can get it real cheap.
We can't use any force accounts?
I think one of the things, though, is what you did before with the pipes, just put them in the ground. Drive them all in and let it go wherever they go. They'll get that stuff, vines that grow on it.
It would be nice to let them know ahead of time so that if we had to do a little jigging and jagging, they'd be consent to it, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you can do it once you get it. You got to run it. Should run it right along wherever your property is, though, so there's no in the future.
Well, Dan must have had a survey when he put the walking thing in.
That's very nice, yeah.
Here today.
We might have an extra fence, so let's see what it is.
Well, we can start somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it's just a good thing.
Start down below, by the way, go north, whatever the direction it is.
Come that way.
Let's go south.
Okay.
I got a comment. I don't want to stir the pot up too much, but all over the type of things. But anyways, I want to go back to Mayor Nelson was a member of this board, and so Jim too. Whatever. Do we send a thank you letter or any correspondence or recognition for the governor? Do it like that for those people who worked hard?
Not to my knowledge, we sent
The governor sent him a letter.
Well, I have an idea. I'm glad you brought that up because wasn't it you that came to me and said, what do we do for our employees? And I said, let's do certificates, blah, 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 blah. Why don't we do something like that? Because I know since I've been here, unless you've been a chairperson, we get like a plaque. But it would be nice to give them a certificate of some sort as long as we're considering doing certificates for longevity for employees. And now we talked about doing a certificate and bringing them in and doing an acknowledgement of them. That would be a great idea to also do for past board members.
Excellent. His timing is perfect because the August meeting, I'd like to recognize the CSBA folks that have been here 5, 10, 15 year and up increments. So that would be an opportune time.
I think that would make them pleased too that we were acknowledging them certainly.
It's funny because like I don't know the process enough, the fanfare to say goodbye, where maybe the mayor didn't.
We've never had those.
Well, what I'm just saying is that there's no set-off date. All of a sudden, like our city council, I knew I was done December 31st or whatever. So these folks,
They don't know.
no. So it's kind of. Maybe a hard
If that's the case, Connie herself got back as a chairperson, but it'd be nice to send, those that have been with us for the last so many years a certificate. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think that class is reflected speaking here, and I don't think she got anything.
I'll tell you what, I funded the money at Mike's Trophy, so I know that everybody got their own plaque.
Okay, I thought that she was here.
We might have a different one here, but they actually took one home with them.
Oh?
Because I did two. I did one for Mr. Hackett, and I did one for Connie Oxbury.
Okay.
And the reason I know is because that suspension bridge, like format for the engraving, was already on their system.
Okay.
So I know there's been two.
We can do it.
And I'm not looking for plaques necessarily, but wouldn't it be nice to do certificates? It's a great idea.
You want me to read it?
Yes, so you read it to the board.
Sure, that's all right. You got one more letters in communication? Yes. Letter from Mary Rasco. To whom may concern. A lot of you know me already, but for those of you who don't, my name is Mary Rasco. I have been an employee of the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority for the past 8 years. During that time, I have been employed primarily as a relief toll collector, but have on numerous occasions worked in the office in different locations. I have worked in the accounting department and also in an administrative capacity to most of the management staff. It is with the utmost confidence that I say you would be hard-pressed to find someone employed here who could not attest to the great work ethic and cheerful disposition that I possess. Most of you are probably wondering why I am sharing all of this with you, or why it would matter now. You can imagine my surprise at the realization that I have been overlooked for a full-time toll collector position. Not only was I overlooked for this position, but so were the other dedicated long-time employees. It is with the utmost respect that I request to know why it is that I was not selected for this position. It seemed apparent to me that hiring a person who already knows the job would be the easiest transition for everyone involved. If I was a decent enough candidate to be employed here for the past 8 years, where is the breakdown between a part-time position and a full-time one? To overlook a long-time employee for the very job they have been doing is not only preposterous, but it is a slap in the face for all of the work that we do. I'm a very quiet person, someone who doesn't say anything when she feels abused. Today I need to tell you how hurt I am by the decision that you have made, not only for myself, but for the other toll collectors who have invested their time in this authority. This decision proves to me simply that it isn't the work ethic or skills you possess that determine your lot in life, but the powerful people you can pull into your corner. At this point, I want to formally resign from my relief toll collector position. While I have thoroughly enjoyed this job dealing with the public and becoming friends with my coworkers, I cannot continue to work for an organization that does not recognize the amazing qualities of the employees they overlook. I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to all of my coworkers here. You really are like a second family to me, and I appreciate your unfaltering support. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Mary A. Rasco.
She would have delivered that herself, but she just couldn't do it.
Now, the Barbara Rasco was here was a relative?
It's her mother.
Mother. Thank you.
Mary was here, and once she realized she did not get the job, she had to leave.
Motion to adjourn.
I want to make one comment before we adjourn, because I sense a lot of hurt and dismay or whatever type of words we want to have that happened in this room today. And I think our staff did a very admirable job with a very difficult process. And when we discussed this, and we had very many emotional meetings with Mark and Wade and Steve and the committee. And we knew it was going to be a very difficult process to get what we thought was the right thing to do, and that's what we thought we did the right thing to do. How people were selected, I said, how are you going to do this, whatever. I mean, you have to look at all the situations you went through. They come up with a questionnaire form. They went through 280 applications. They did an admirable job to select 17 people. I wasn't involved in the process other than just say, do the best job you can possibly to come up with the best 2 people. And that was the directive we gave them, to do the best 2 people that you could find in the process. Very, very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do. And it's like all of a sudden you have a process you don't do very often. All of a sudden you say, how am I going to manage the system to make it work, to come up with the 2 best people? I think they did the best job they could possibly do. I also discussed them, whatever the situation is, you got part-time people, whatever, they're in the mix. they're in the mix, they were in the mix. I looked at all the aspects of what those people did, and I also advised them to say, listen, folks, when you not select people out of that, people who are your part-time people, okay, all of a sudden your pool of part-time people is going to be affected because they're going to be hurt if they don't get selected. We discussed all those type of things. We looked at all the aspects of what this decision was going to be. We looked at the aspect of who's retired and what's going to happen with the next part of our process. So that decision was made. I would, speak toward Mary or whatever, I would be heartbroken also that she didn't get the job or whatever. But, everybody was put into the pool, and everybody had the obvious chance to answer the questions and do all the type of things whatever. So there's a lot of variables that were implied, and that's how the two people came about. I have no idea who they were until I got here today. Who they were.
Who was on the personnel committee that did the process?
The selection committee was made of myself, John Reish, Steve Lawrence. We conducted 17 interviews over a 2-day period.
So only the board members that were involved with
That's correct. That's correct.
I knew who the names were this afternoon. Because they swore, the three of them, not to let the names out. That's what I understand.
That's correct.
And I don't know if anybody else knew. Did you know the names?
No.
Yours? And the resolution was blank.
And my eyes were raised when I saw that it was 2, and
I understand. Okay, motion to adjourn?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I make the motion.
I didn't know he was going to speak.
Well, you were a little bit quick on me, Fred. But I'm Steve Ramone. I'm president of the Ogdensburg Bridgeport Authority Employees Association, and I'm also a toll collector. And I'd like to say a couple of things. First of all, on behalf of Mary Rasco, you people missed a big boat. There is no finer person on God's green earth, no harder worker, no more loyal than Mary Rasco. It's very disappointing as a toll collector, a fellow worker, to see her get passed over. Having said that, I sat here through this meeting and I watched it. I listened to at least 2 different things go before this board, and decisions were made based on incomplete and inaccurate information coming from the executive director, and I assume backed by Fred Carter, chairman of the board. I have reached out to the personnel committee. I reached out to Wade, Fred, to try to assist and provide information. The door has been slammed shut in my face every time. So having said that, I'm going to communicate with each individual board member the next few days. And I'm ready, willing, and able to discuss anything that you would like to discuss with me about anything. And I will do this in the form of a letter. I'm very disappointed in at least 2 actions that took place today. And there is much more to the story than you know, all of you know. Mary, you were on the right track, but it runs way deeper than that. And I would welcome the opportunity to speak with any board member at any time about anything. I've been here for 22 years. I've helped negotiate at least 6 contracts. I know the contract. I know it well. And I know that I'm not questioning the authority's right to do what they do. But I am questioning the how and the why. And there have been a couple of instances, for instance, like you talked about, the hiring the 2 toll collectors. I'm a toll collector. No one came to me and said anything to me. This changes my whole life. This affects my whole life, my family's life. I had to find out on Deerfield Golf Course by someone who doesn't even work here. That's how disappointing this whole process is. And I just want to go on record as saying that. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the lack of questions that went around this table, except for you, Mary. But there's more to it than this, much more. And I would welcome the opportunity to speak on behalf of the toll collectors and also on behalf of the union. I am president of the union, and plus I have 22 years experience here. I know how things happen. I know sometimes why they happen, and I wouldn't expect you board members, especially you new guys, to know stuff. That's why I offered my knowledge. But I was pretty much told that, forget it. We make the decisions here, and that's it. But that's all I was trying to do was help. And I've got rebuffed at every turn. And I'm very disappointed in that also. And I'm disappointed not only for Mary, but there's another girl too that's been working here for a year. She was passed over. Another toll collector wasn't even interviewed. A part-time toll wasn't even asked for an interview. It's the whole process, very disappointing. And I'm saddened by the whole thing, basically.
Mr. Chairman, I wish to respond. For the record, for the board member, there's a packet here of information correspondence between the Executive Director and CSEA Local President 051. I have nothing to add other than I'll stand on this record. You can clearly see it right here. This matter has been discussed. Thank you.
One of the things that I want, Steve, that you commented on, I just want to say this to the board members because I don't control the board members. I've been here since 1992. And I don't control these board members. They have their own minds and their own thoughts. But the issue with CSEA, I will respond on this. Anything to do with the employees under the collective bargaining agreements that's been negotiated here and been approved by this board, that's our policy. We set policy. Once we've agreed to that contract, you will deal directly with the staff people in place. As far as calling board members on issues of that's under that collective bargaining agreement, I caution them. I try to put it in proper words. I caution them to tell you the same thing. If it's something to do with the employees and the contract and the stuff that's not happening around here, take it to management, put it in writing. You have grievance procedures. You also have a right to come and comment here at any open meeting, and just what you just did. But I'm just saying to you, as the CSEA president of this chapter, you will work through these people. These board members can't get involved in that.
Work through it in that.
There are policy people here.
I have tried at every turn. I have tried. And I've been rebuffed at every turn. We have labor management meetings. Okay? When we bring something to that table. Okay? What happens is that when we question Mr. Davis on certain items, he blames you, the board. Then shows us I'm being board directed. And then, so, okay, let me talk to the board member. And now when I says, no, I'm sorry, I'm the executive director, I'm charged with administrating the contract, and if you don't like what I do, then file a grievance. But that's not what labor management meetings are for. Labor management meetings are to avoid grievances. You people will pay the cost of those grievances. And that's what we try to do.
If it's a grievance,
that's what we try to do. We try to do things.
But unions don't, what I'm saying, unions have to follow that trend.
You're 100% right, Fred, and I apologize to all you people. I got maybe a little bit carried away. Because you look out that window, it's still the United States of America, and I'm free to say whatever.
Every meeting, come.
Frank Capello's here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my feeling is when you feel like you're being led astray, the truth of the matter is the only things we're allowed to discuss in executive session are personal issues that discuss a person's name or something that's very personal. So if you get the line that the board is directing me to do such and such a policy, that policy you would have heard of either by accessing the internet or coming to the meetings. I mean, am I right? So if you get that sort of line, to me, either go on the archive to see if we did set a different policy, instead of relying on the fact that whether he's telling you something is true or not. The executive session is very limited. Legal issues, personnel issues that discuss an individual's name. So like tonight, for example, the policy issue of hiring 2 people, I take issue and I took issue because that policy was not discussed with board members. You can go back in the archives and take a look. That was not discussed. But my point is, for you to have some backup and peace of mind when you hear somebody say it's a policy and the board said it, I think you can determine that on your own. So you don't have to rely on somebody say so, because the only thing that can happen in executive session are very minuscule litigation, people's names.
Okay? I'm just disappointed, Mary, that I've not been allowed to communicate to, like, for saying, the personnel committee. Maybe the information I had may have changed that decision, may have made or modified that decision, but I was never allowed to get to that point. And that's the disappointing thing of it. That's what breaks my heart, because there's at least 2 decisions made here tonight that affect me personally, not only me, but my family. That change things for my whole family, and other people also. And it's just distressing to me, just to see the way that it happens.
And if we had that policy discussion around this table, to be quite honest, and you had been here, you could have made a concluding comment, or you could have made an introductory comment. That's really my point, you know? You could have been heard.
I tried to be heard.
I'm not saying that anybody would say, oh, because of Steve's problems, we're not going to do it. But my point is, if there had been a policy decision discussed around the table, you would have been given that time. You wouldn't have to knock on people's doors, write letters, or make phone calls, okay?
I am sending a letter to each individual board member, and I would, if I'm willing to talk to anybody at any time. And I've been told that I can do this by CSEA, because, this is still America. You can correspond with everybody.
I told you that, Steve.
If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine.
I have no problem with the letter, Steve. Send them to wherever you want.
But Steve, to me, this is a very small issue, and I'm going to ask Mr. Carter, and I stand by my board members. They're good board members. They didn't take this job to be paid nothing, to be, downfall that. But this is my point. If we can have policy discussions around the table, to be quite honest, Mr. Malone will feel better that he aired his position, whether or not we agree with it or not is a whole separate issue, but something like this maybe would not have been happened tonight.
I'm not trying to tell the board what to do. I'm not trying to tell them.
But you would have liked your input.
I think my input could have been very important. It may have changed.
Thank you.
Well, Steve, you got to be honest. You're talking to a guy here with 45 years in the labor movement. You had an input with your CSA contract. You had an input. We did. Listen, I want to say this to you because it's just bothering me, because I'm a union representative of 45 years. The collective bargaining agreement gave your people the right to take that job. No one wanted it, Steve. No one wanted it in the unit. Not one person. There was eligible people that could have took it in the unit. So it was turned down. And then it went down to let me finish. Then it went down to
Very different, Fred.
It is entirely different. You know that labor agreement.
I know it backwards.
And what do I live with it?
I'll negotiate it. And I live with it also.
And we created 2 full-time jobs here tonight. Now go and tell the world out there that we did the wrong thing.
Plenty of other places where you could have gone with that. There's a utility worker job in the contract right now. You look on that schedule, the utility worker contract in that job right now. I went to labor management and asked Wade, let's begin negotiations to fill that position. He told me, no, I'm sorry. There's no money in the budget for unfilled positions.
At that time, on that particular issue as a union representative, you know we're in violation, you should have filed a grievance. That gets to this board. And if you were right on the issue, the board would make the decision.
We filled it to labor.
You don't have to take a no from him.
We try to avoid grievance. That's what the end it's all about. I'm sorry, I'm just a simple man. I try to do things right and wrong. That's my criteria.
Like I said, we created 2 full-time jobs here, and you should be proud of that. As a CSEA member.
Thank you. But there's other places that you could have gone with that. Many other places you could have gone with that.
Well, thank you.
You didn't need to destroy the right of 4 toll collectors to do it.
Okay. Thank you. Comments have been heard.
We're not even going to respond. The information's there.
I'll make the motion to adjourn if we have no other comments.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
He's left behind. I think he has an announcement. That's up to you. Security issues, you might want to caution people. Security issues.
Yeah.
Just caution people that maybe
I think it's good that they